Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Brought to you today and every day by our good friend at Big Willie's. Salt Lake City Sports Bar at 1717 South Main. The perfect place to watch whatever games, fights, tournaments, matches, whatever you're looking for in the sports world. Maybe you want to go shoot some pool. Maybe you're just interested in a nice cold beverage. Big Willie's has it all covered for you. Craft cocktails, delicious food, diverse menu, specials that run every single day. And you get great treatment even if you're not a listener to the Sean O'Connell Show. But if you go down and you say that OC sent you, they're going to take extra special care of you because that's what our friends at Big Willie's do. Go check them out at 1717 South Main. Fun show lined up for you today. Gordy Chiesa as the Jazz season inches closer and closer. And the Jazz this year are going to be fun in a way that is – I can't decide if we're going to be embarrassed by it or we're just going to lean into it. When I say fun, I don't mean fun like competing for NBA championships type fun. I mean like they're going to find ways to engage with the community, to to make themselves more appealing, to give discounts and have family nights and Star Wars nights or whatever else, because you got to get people to show up.
Well, you certainly hope they're going to do something like that, OC. I don't know if I'm as convinced as you the way that season ticket prices and other things have gone up, even though they're not trying to win.
Yeah, the ticket pricing thing is all going to be sticker shock through the roof, but they're gonna do some of like the guerrilla marketing, I think, with the Utah Jazz. We got some
By the way,
interesting Monday Night Football stuff to talk about. Devin Lloyd with one of the plays of the year so far in the National Football League.
See him juke the I guess not defender, the offensive player out when
it was Mahomes.
Was it Mahomes? I didn't. Yeah, I saw the highlights afterwards, so I didn't hear it live. But yeah, he catches it. I'm thinking when I hear he had a 99-yard pick six, he must have caught it and had a straight line to the end zone. No, he jukes Mahomes and breaks at least one arm tackle and jukes a couple other guys. Like that was an athletic play by Devin Lloyd. Incredible.
Devin Lloyd he's having a good but a strange year. If you had on your bingo card that Devin Lloyd was going to be the NFL leader in interceptions, Devin Lloyd is leading the NFL in interceptions right now. He is the best defensive back in the NFL right now.
And defensive player of the month in the first month of the season, I would not have guessed that. Even though we saw that he's steadily improved every year, it's not been enough to where it was like, yeah, this year he's going to finally look like the best linebacker in the NFL.
I mean, he's trending towards probably a Pro Bowl year. I don't know about all pro, but at least a Pro Bowl year potentially. And when I say it's a strange year, he's the middle linebacker, and his tackle totals still not really good. It's just like he's not filling the stat sheet that way, but he's making these huge impact plays. In college, he did both. He was the luxury item that every defensive coordinator wants, where you've got a guy who's a reliable tackler, always in position, big-time playmaker as well. Right now, and the reason the Jags are loving him and the reason that the NFL is starting to take a little bit more notice of Agent Zero is because he makes these big-time plays, and that was a 14-point swing in a Monday Night Football game that Jacksonville was kind of hoping. Everyone in Duval was kind of holding their breath and saying, all right, is this a time when we emerge out of our own shadow a little bit, where we stop making the same mistakes we've made the last decade plus, where we can finally win one of these big games on a national stage? I mean, it felt like – it doesn't mean they're a better team in the playoffs than the Chiefs, but right now the Kansas City Chiefs are stuck in that place of being a litmus test for everyone. You get everyone's best shot, and all these young players that came up watching this dynasty that are now in the NFL. I'm watching a highlight of Travis Hunter right now. Perfect example of this. All of those guys want to show you, the NFL fan, that they are ready for the playoffs. They are ready for bigger things by beating Kansas City. And doing it on a national stage is, of course, a lot more gratifying. And the fact that Devin Lloyd gave you that pick six, 99-yard interception return, it was a 14-point swing in a tie game. Jacksonville doesn't go on to win this game 31-28 if he doesn't make that play. Even if he just intercepts that ball, it's dubious as to whether or not they end up finding the end zone because it wasn't hotly contested. It was a tight game. If he picks that ball and just, kneels down for the touchback, or if he picks that ball and Mahomes ends up tackling him, so you're on your own, whatever it was, 17-yard line going out, I don't have the level of trust in Trevor Lawrence that he's going to engineer a drive that creates the 14-point swing. Devin Lloyd created the 14-point swing by himself. Let's go. And we got an interesting question come in on Twitter shortly after that I thought was worth fleshing out. Is that the best play you've ever seen by an ex-Ute in the NFL?
Ooh. Well,
Now,
let's think of some other candidates here.
So I immediately was just like, that's a great play. But guys like Steve Smith, guys like Eric Weddle.
Steve Smith had a career worth.
Guys like Alex Smith, guys like Luther Ellis, if you go back far enough.
I mean, Scott Mitchell played a long time, played really well in the NFL.
Now, it probably belongs on a top 10 list.
Yeah.
But
I
was like, okay, immediately my mind started going. I was like, all right, what player? A lot of my memories of great individual plays for Eric Weddle are his plays in college, right?
Yeah.
Like individual, oh my gosh, nobody else can do that in college. He had plenty of those in the NFL. He actually had a game-sealing interception that was called back by a penalty that would have given him $1 million bonus. Remember this? This was
last game of the year kind of thing.
This is when he was playing for the Ravens, and he had a clause in his contract that if he had a certain numbers performance bonus, right, where if he had certain numbers in his stat sheet and Baltimore made the playoffs, then he got an extra $1 million. And look, Eric has done very well for himself, did very well for himself in the NFL, but not to the level of like some of these NBA guys where $1 million bonus is relatively insignificant, At the very, very least, that's a big bonus for him from a charitable giving standpoint. Somebody, 877-353-0700, help me put this into context because I didn't know we were going here today. But if I remember correctly, he had checked all the boxes of how much he had played more than 75% of the defensive snaps. And if they win this game, they're headed to the playoffs. And he intercepted the ball on the opposition. I can't remember who they were playing against. He intercepted the ball on the opposition's what would have been game-winning drive to seal the game. And there was some ticky-tack, ridiculous garbage on the backside of the play, defensive holding call or pass interference call that was like nowhere near affecting the outcome of the play. And he got the interception to trigger the bonus in his clause, or the bonus clause in his contract that would have given him an extra $1 million. The flag thrown by the referee took it away from him. And I was like, that is ridiculous. That was such a clutch play.
So I'm thinking it might have been 2017 season because that was a year that they did not make the playoffs.
Sounds
and
right.
They lost in the final game of the year 9-7. Or excuse me. That I'm looking at the wrong column here. That's the
I don't
record
know
column. Obviously, they lose in the final game of the year, 31-27.
Okay, who are they playing against?
Playing the Bengals.
Okay, I think I have this right. I think it was that game. 877-353-0700. Anyway, that was one of those plays where it was like you're sending your team to the playoffs and you're scoring yourself $1 million bonus, and the referees threw a flag that took it away from him. And, of course, he reacted to it with class and was just like, oh, yeah, you know what? I didn't lose that money. I never had that money. That money wasn't mine until the game went final and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was a great play by Weddle. That's a memorable play in his career.
But I that's probably it, because the record, they end up with 9-7, and they probably and they did miss the playoffs that year. Okay, so that's got to be it.
I think that's the year. I think that's what we're talking about. It is a memorable play, and it goes back to the question, after we see what Devin Lloyd did, Monday Night Football, 99-yard pick six, 14-point swing in a game. Now, that's a regular season game. The play that I came up with that definitively goes above, and there's actually two in the same game, that go, if there's a top 10 list of great plays made by Utes in the NFL, Alex Smith in the divisional round against the New Orleans Saints had a clutch game-winning pass to Vernon Davis. They call it the catch three in 49ers lore, to advance past Drew Brees and the Saints. He also, in that same game, had an unbelievable touchdown scramble, and that was playoff football. Both of those were big-time plays made by Alex Smith as the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, and, of course, that checks the boxes of former Ute in the NFL. A bigger, like a regular season, even if it is Monday night against the Kansas City Chiefs, a regular season game, big-time play, awesome. Big-time plays in the playoffs, even better.
I'm looking at, because I remember seeing recently one of Eric Weddle's like best highlights compilations on Twitter recently. I found it again. He has a one-handed interception against Peyton Manning when he's with the Chargers and Manning's with the Colts, and he's getting blocked by the offensive lineman. Ball gets tipped by a teammate, and he gets one hand free from the block, and somehow comes down with it with his elbow near the goal line. Like, that's an incredible play. Maybe not super high stakes, but like that. I mean, that's an incredible play by Eric Weddle in the NFL from a former Ute that probably should be considered in this too.
So Will Osborne on Twitter, thank you for bringing that question in. Is that the best play that you've seen a Ute make, or among the top plays you've seen a Ute make, former Ute make? In the NFL.
I wouldn't be mad at anyone, including our texter, that believes it is, because that was an incredible interception return by Devin Lloyd.
I think Paul Kruger had a sack and a half in the Super Bowl in a contract year when he was with the Baltimore Ravens also, if I'm not mistaken. Anytime you're making a big play in the Super Bowl, this is before he ended up signing the big contract with Cleveland. Could be mistaken there. But, yeah, Paul Kruger entering the chat for greatest plays in the NFL by a Ute. Steve Smith probably has a dozen catches that you could make a case for.
I can think of one in the playoffs against the Bears, I want to say, and he catches it, and his celebration is he jumps straight into the field goal post where the pad is and slides down it. Like, he jumped as high as he could and then slid down it with his arms and legs straddling the post. Like, I guess I remember the celebration more than I remember the play, but it was a big play in a playoff game with the Panthers. By the way, I'm sad watching this a little bit, watching this Eric Weddle highlight compilation again, because he did a lot of stuff against Peyton Manning. My goodness. Well, whether it was with the Colts or when Manning was with the Broncos later.
Which, by the way, makes it more meaningful.
Yeah.
Like, Devin Lloyd's interception last night was against Patrick Mahomes.
Right, and then he juked him out.
He made
on
Patrick
the return.
Mahomes look bad twice on one play. How about this breaking news? The Bengals are trading for Joe Flacco.
Oh. interstate trade. I guess the Browns feel really good about Dylan Gabriel. He looked good to me in his first game.
They're trading Joe Flacco. The Browns are trading Joe Flacco and a 6th-round pick to the Bengals for a 5th-round pick.
All
right, cool. Sounds good. Have fun, Bengals.
Moving on.
You know what, James? For all of you out there listening, James came in and he had all these like alarms set, and he was ready to break down what the Decision 2, LeBron.
I was like, I'm not gonna miss the Decision 2.0, and then I got caught in some work conversations, and I come in.
So I come in,
I said I missed it,
and James is about to go look up all the fallout, and I said, wait, save it. I want you to go into this blind when we go on air.
So I'm the last sports media guy to not know what the LeBron Decision 2.0 is, and it's your fault.
James is like that guy they found in like 1961 that didn't know that World War II was over.
Yeah.
Like they landed on some remote island in the Philippine archipelago.
He's still fighting.
There was a Japanese soldier there that was still fighting, and they were like, whoa, relax.
It's been a decade and a half.
The war ended like 15 years ago, dude. He's like, oh, for real? I was just doing my duty until somebody told me. So James is that person right now. All right?
Rip Van Winkle, whatever you want to call me.
That's an equal comparison, of course.
Yeah.
So the Decision 2.0, James, you like everyone else.
You want to let me have some guesses as to retirement's an obvious guess.
Yeah.
I did like the wrong answers only that said it's for Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, it's
Taco Tuesday related
on Taco Tuesday.
And I also love that tweeter put not joking in parentheses because and I'm like, I don't blame you for really believing that's the case because LeBron has really leaned into Taco Tuesday over the last few years on social media. So those are my first, like, the serious one is retirement, and then if it's not a serious decision, my next one I'd agree with that guy, one of our listeners on Twitter, who said it's Taco Tuesday related. I could also, another guess I'd have is just him making all this hullabaloo about I'm ready for the season. Just announcing I'm in regular season mode.
It's like when he does his 0 dark 30 thing.
Yeah.
24/7 0 dark 30 playoff mode. Like, LeBron, shut up. We know.
Yeah, so regular season mode.
Oh wait, you're locked in for the season, and we are not LeBron haters here on this program.
No, I love LeBron.
This is the stuff that when you're talking about LeBron James, you're just like,
cringy.
Okay, this is either going to be a momentous announcement where he's like, I saw plenty of speculative guesses yesterday. All right. He's announcing the retirement was the number one thing that people expected. He's buying a portion of a team or basketball or otherwise that he's getting involved, which would be huge, right? Because that's something that players in leagues have started to really get into. You know, NFL guys are buying into NFL franchises. NFL guys and NBA guys are buying into soccer franchises. Hockey's growing rapidly. WNBA is growing rapidly. All these things. So I saw people speculating LeBron's going to buy into the WNBA. I was like, okay, that's a good guess. An announcement about Bronny, an announcement about Bryce, whatever. Nope. You want me to tell you what it was, James?
I'm ready.
It was a Hennessy ad.
Okay. Of course it was.
Now, shout out to Hennessy, which I've never tasted in my life, but shout out to Hennessy for getting us all thinking, talking, tweeting, wondering about what was going to happen. I mean, this is a viral moment. If that's what you're looking for in advertising, which attention is the currency of the day, there was nothing you could have done as a drink brand like Hennessy to get more attention than this, than to have LeBron James tease an announcement, which is very on brand for him, and all of us say, have 24 hours of speculation about what LeBron was going to announce, and then have everybody, once he announced that, like, hey, my decision has been to partner up with Hennessy, everyone just be like, what the hell?
Yeah, we're never gonna believe you. We're not gonna believe your retirement announcement now, LeBron. We're not even gonna. You're gonna say I've got a huge announcement coming up, and we're all just gonna be like, yeah, whatever. We don't want to see another Hennessy ad.
LeBron James is the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah, he's the Bron who cried wolf.
But
yeah,
from a branding and advertising perspective, it is beyond brilliant. Hennessy has been outside of my consciousness since the days I was bouncing at bars downtown. Like, when is the last time I thought about Hennessy? They don't rap about it anymore like they used to. When is the last time?
I've seen it. I saw them in, like, NBA commercials. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago. Maybe it was more than 5 years ago, though. With what was their drink? Is it Wild Rabbit? Is that what something Rabbit?
No, the drink is Hennessy.
Oh, yeah, okay. See, that exposes both of us as
we're
not knowing anything about alcohol.
But there was a time in like the 90s, early 2000s where like Hennessy bottles were in rap videos and people were rapping about Hennessy and people were talking about Hennessy. And you knew that people who wanted to be in touch with like the hip hop culture were going to come into the bar and they were going to probably order some Hennessy. I have not thought of the word Hennessy since then, James, until today. So congratulations to the brand. Congratulations to Hennessy for figuring out a way to put your drink, your bottle, your brand on the forefront, even if it's for 12 hours.
Yeah, back into the public's consciousness. Absolutely.
And by the way, we're not going to forget for the next however many years what the Decision 2.0 was.
Well, that's the other part that makes it so brilliant is that LeBron and Hennessy decided to label this announcement as the Decision 2.0, making us all think, oh, it has to do with his basketball career because the decision is something we're never going to forget.
It's a perfect coup for advertising. I saw this thing memed with A Christmas Story. You remember, like, Ralphie is all about the decoder ring from Ovaltine.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what that secret message is. And it's a commercial. Drink more Ovaltine. That's exactly what just happened here. All of us are just like, hoo, hoo, hoo. He's retiring. As we were handing off the show to Spence yesterday, what I said to him was, if he makes a retirement announcement, it puts everyone in the league in a position where they have to give the farewell tour to LeBron James, and you have to roll out the red carpet for his last appearance at your building. You have to buy like the surfboard if you're a Southern California team. You got to give LeBron like a mountain. You got to name a mountain after him in Utah, whatever.
All the fans who hated him have to give him a standing ovation. That was the cringiest thing about Kobe's return to Utah. All the Jazz fans are like, oh, man, love Kobe. Oh, my gosh. No, you hated him.
I've hated you my whole life, but I respect you as a competitor, man.
Like, no, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen, especially here in Utah.
And by the way.
Oh, by the way,
they did it with A-Rod when he was retiring.
Rest in peace, Kobe, okay? This is not about that.
We know. They did it with A-Rod when he was retiring from baseball.
That too.
Like,
oh, my gosh.
So that was, James, as I was leaving the building yesterday, as I was like, Spence, this is what's going to happen. I was like, okay, one of the segments I had planned for today was
retirement tour.
Let's guess what the Utah Jazz are going to give to LeBron James as his retirement gift. And guess what? We don't have to talk about that because it was a damn commercial.
How about a signed plaque of Sundiana Gaines game winner and dates of his, what was that, a seven-year win streak for the Jazz in Utah?
You know what would be amazing is if they just when it does happen, here's what I want the Utah Jazz to give LeBron James. All right, some commemorative plaque. Make it cool. Make it like an engraved basketball, okay, that has the entire history of LeBron James' performances against the Utah Jazz and have mostly the dates, like whatever it was, December 12th, 2024, DNP coach's decision.
Yeah.
Just a bunch. Just let him know. Just show him how many times he sat against the Jazz because he didn't care.
Put it all caps and bolded the DNPs, and then just bolded the losses.
Yeah.
In Utah, and then and put the other dates on there too, but don't make them stand out at all.
Absolutely, put like his actual stat lines when he really did play. But then show him how many times it was DNP coach's decision, DNP load management. I want him to have to like confront that from the Utah Jazz. Like, have a little bit of fun with it.
And the Denver Nuggets should do the same thing, by the way, because it was either sitting against, because they always play. They made it so that they played the Jazz and Nuggets back to back most of the time on the road for when he was with the Lakers or in Cavs or Heat, and like have the Nuggets should do the same thing, because he either played that game against the Nuggets and then sat against the Jazz, or vice versa. So they should absolutely do the same thing. And listen, I put no thought into this. I just barely said the Sundiata Gaines thing and thought of it for the first time when I said it out loud. But I really think put either do like a picture of that shot with the stat lines you're talking about, right, underneath it, or get the part of the Delta Center floor that Sundiata Gaines shot it from and frame that and give it to him.
LeBron feels like he has a poor sense of humor to laugh at himself in like a farewell
tour. He might not
tour.
take that well.
So he probably wouldn't take it very well.
But who cares?
But that would make it that much funnier. In any case, it was a Hennessy ad. The Decision 2.0, as all of you know now at this point, a Hennessy ad. And
I'm skipping Decision 3.0, LeBron. I want you to know that.
The real-world ramifications for this are exactly zero, except we just get to chuckle at our own foolishness and believing that it was going to be a big thing. Except if you are one of the folks out there who on the secondary ticket market, as soon as this thing was teased, we're like, well, I got to be there for his last career game.
Yeah, you saw the story about this.
$3,000 was the get-in price for the final home game.
By the way, happens to be against the Utah Jazz. So I saw that and went, no way. We're going to get a LeBron farewell the way Kobe got a farewell. Great. The Jazz are going to be victims of that again?
No, like the value of tickets for every LeBron James final visit to every arena in the NBA skyrocketed because people thought, without him saying anything, people thought it would be the last opportunity to see LeBron James play against their team, or in LA's case, ever.
Yeah.
Like this is the last LeBron James home game. And
the games, I'd love to see the prices of his last game in Miami, his last game in Cleveland. Since this got teased, like those probably are also huge.
If you are someone who spent, because you're not buying it just for yourself, right? You're like, okay, you know what? My daughter's favorite player is LeBron James, and if I'm taking my daughter, I gotta take my other
married
kid,
someone from Cleveland or whatever,
and I gotta take my wife. We're gonna make it a family event, and we're gonna get nice seats for this one. We're gonna see LeBron James' final performance at whatever arena, at the Delta Center. I'm gonna fork out from $2,000 to $20,000 because of a Hennessy ad. Oh, what have you done, Hennessy?
It's all right. They're now selling those tickets.
Let me offload these bad boys. Hey, I overpaid for these tickets, and I don't actually want to go to this game now. I'm very, very upset. The only way you can offset this, if you're one of the people who fell victim, jump on the Hennessy bandwagon right now. Go find the stock price for whatever brand owns Hennessy, and just watch them skyrocket a little bit because of this viral moment.
Well, and then if you're feeling especially vindictive, sell way earlier so that it tanks the stock, right?
Start manipulating the stock price with your paltry purchase because you spent all your money on the tickets. Oh, man. Love him or hate him, and there's a lot of people here who just don't like him. LeBron James and Hennessy, whoever was the mastermind behind this, pat yourself on the back. You just showed the power of LeBron James. Even as he goes into his 23rd NBA season, at 40-plus years of age, he is a guy who can move the ticket price in every arena in the land still.
And by the way, who can no longer get past the first round in the playoffs. He still has that power. I mean, that's probably going to change here soon now that Luka's with him, but he hasn't really even been relevant from a competitive standpoint in the biggest time of the year in a number of years, other than their Western Conference Finals run that they ended up getting swept by the Nuggets 3 years ago. Besides that, you got the bubble was the last time they were anything relevant in the playoffs, and he still has that kind of power over us.
This is like the best viral marketing that we've seen in 20 years. The problem is the news cycle moves so fast nowadays that they're only going to get like 18 hours of run out of this thing. Hopefully for them it's worth it. All right, we got to take a break here. Gordy Chiesa is going to join us on the other side. We'll see what he thought Decision 2.0 was going to be. Sean O'Connell Show brought to you by Big Willie's at 1717 South Main. It's Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Time to check in with our resident NBA guru. Brought to you by Aladdin Industries, a conversation with Gordy Chiesa as the NBA season approaches. In fact, the Jazz have their first preseason game tomorrow at the Houston Rockets. That'll be a 6 p.m. tip. Gordy, welcome back. How are you, sir?
Oh, see, I'm doing fine. Thank you.
What did you think Decision 2.0 was going to be?
That he was going to retire after this season. Little did we know that he's a pitch man for cognac as far as the alcohol, and that he's a new national ad.
Unbelievable. Look, I don't mind admitting when I got. I thought for sure we were going to have a 30 to 60-minute program where LeBron sat down and expressed in his own words his love for the NBA, teammates, franchises, and that was announcing that he was going to be done after this 25-26 season, and then we were all going to get real sappy, and we were all going to be like, okay, how important is it to see LeBron while you still have the chance? And he was going to go on this farewell tour, and instead Hennessy goes viral and capitalizes on our own thoughts and preconceptions about what LeBron James is willing to do.
And that was a play on words, Sean, add to that. For the younger listeners, the original decision was him taking his talents to South Beach, which was July 2010. Let's fast forward it. That's how long he's played as far as NBA basketball. He's entering his 23rd season of the NBA, which is amazing. They're playing at a high level. And so he announced, again, he's a pitch man for alcohol.
So we wait at least another, several months before LeBron makes a decision about his long-term future. And if you are among the fans who overpaid for tickets to see LeBron James' last trip to the Delta Center, I feel bad. I'm sorry that happened to you, but he got us all. Let's talk about this Utah Jazz team. East High School surprise scrimmage. The rookies and the young players rolled out, and they did a scrimmage at East High School in front of a bunch of high school students. They did a High School Musical rookie dance-off, a little mild hazing there. Gordy, what's the thought process for a team behind stuff like this?
Well, one thing, it's just different environment. Instead of just playing and practicing in your own facility, they took it to East High, right up the street, very simple to do. And it was good for the players to get in a different environment as they leave to go to play. You mentioned earlier about playing the Rockets and the Spurs on this mini Texas swing. It's good. Different environment. The lights are on. There's fans there cheering, and it's just positive, upbeat.
What was your favorite rookie hazing that you saw happen while you were, coaching?
Well, in Jazz basketball in yesteryear is that the rookies carried the bags. In other words, where the rookie would help out the management and the trainers as far as them lugging some of the bags, especially on road trips, onto the airplane. So they took it off the bus, and they put it onto the airplane on the underneath the plane, and that was part of their thing. It was interesting. Add to that, Sean, was that it was part of the culture. And that most players had a good attitude. A few thought it was really indifferent about it, and they were hazed tremendously by the veterans.
On a team that's so full of young guys right now, like is Kevin Love leading the rookie? You're mild with the hazing now, but like, is Lowry the guy who's like making the rookies do stuff? Everyone on this team is so young.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, it's different when you're just. So Larry Mark would be Kevin Love is 18th year in the NBA, but he's a newcomer, so he might try to do it. However, it has to be done by the veterans that are there for X amount of years. So it'll be Larry Markin as far as doing that. The guys are so young. It's a different culture. It's part of the NBA, but you have to be able to have veterans that have been there for a long time as far as with one franchise.
How firmly set is this Utah Jazz roster, you think, in the minds of coaches and management? We're talking about this Texas mini swing, and you've gone through training camp, or you're going through training camp right now. You're going to get some preseason basketball opportunities. Hopefully, some of the guys at the end of the bench are going to be given minutes. I mean, is there someone who can steal a roster spot, or is it pretty well set, you think?
pretty well set. Yes. The way the rules are, you can have 15 players under contract and 3 two-way players, and the two-way players can play a maximum of 50 games before they have to sign a regular standard NBA contract. So it seems to me that the roster's set, but not the starting lineup or as far as rotation. So in Jazz basketball, they're still fighting for playing time, and should be interesting. The Jazz have 3 players that are really veteran. Excuse me, 4. One's not playing right now because of injury, George Niang. So the question is always Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, Yusuf Nurkic, and I mentioned before about George Niang. Those guys are the veterans of the team right now, the newcomers, and then Larry Markkinen is really the true veteran. How they integrate those guys with all the young people on the team. That's the question in Jazz basketball.
Well, we know that for the Utah Jazz, this is going to be another year as part of a rebuild. They're going to do it differently this year because of the roster construction. They already traded away a bunch of the guys that you probably would have had to make up injury reports for. Instead, they're just not on the roster this year. The outlook is that you're going to be one of the bottom 4 or 5 teams in the West. There are some people think this will be worst record in the NBA again. And we spent a lot of time all year talking about it. How do you show growth, and how do you show improvement, and how do you show the things you need to show for the future while you're having a bad year, if we think this is going to be another bad year?
By playing time to the young guys. So the way it should be judged is that Keontae George is 3rd year now in the NBA. His growth, Cody Williams, his growth is for his 2nd year. What's going to look like? Kyle Filipowski, how does he play? Ace Bailey, who's definitely the future. What does he do? And so they're trying to balancing, yes, winning. Because remember, winning is important in a sense where you could keep losing and developing bad habits. But when you win, you're developing solid habits that are in the present tense, but also future. And that's why it's so important. Isaiah Collier, who's a good player. Walter Clayton, who's a good young player. Walker Kessler, who is definitely part of the future, and his contract as far as the extension is that elephant in the room. How does all these things come together? The Jazz should be better. Last year, the Jazz won 17 games. They actually should be better. And Austin Ames has said that they're playing to try to improve and get more wins, and they will. And so the question is how many? At a trading deadline, what do they do with some of their players? But as of right now, they're going to try to integrate these, with the older guys, with the younger guys, as far as getting more positive results.
So as we gear up for another season that is not going to end in the Utah Jazz with a playoff run and not going to end in a pursuit for a championship, what teams are you eyeing as the preseason winds down that are either trying to stay relevant or make their way into that championship conversation? Who's on the Gordy Chiesa radar this year?
Nuggets. Nuggets are good. They've done a good job with their roster. They have the once-in-a-lifetime player in Nikola Jokic. I love that guy, the way he plays. And their new VP of operations, Ben Tenzer, has done a good job with their roster building. And so I'm watching them. Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Cam Johnson, they acquired from the Nets, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. Now the bench now, Bruce Brown, former Nuggets player 3 years ago when they were champions, Tim Hardaway, Peyton Watson, Jonas Valanciunas, and Zeke Naji. So that's their roster. I'm looking at them because last year they lost to the OKC Thunder 4-3. And Sean, I know you love conspiracy theories. What if, just saying, if Aaron Gordon doesn't pull his hamstring, do the Nuggets knock out the Thunder? Just saying.
What are the Warriors going to be?
Good. Underrated. It's hard to imagine the Warriors underrated. But they're off the radar screen because, the Warriors, those guys are getting old. That's the narrative about them, around them, and then they're not going to cooperate. And so they have a bunch of good players on their team that are ready for prime time as far as veterans, and again with their all-star people led by Stephen Curry. So they should start Steph Curry, Moses Moody, or Brandon Brzezinski, either or, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Al Horford. And then their bench could be Gary Payton II, Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton, Jonathan Kuminga, who they re-signed, was absolutely critical, and an underrated player also, Quentin Post. So they're going to be good. They're right there as far as contending in the West, even though they're old. Now, injuries might be a factor, but when you have Stephen Curry in your team and you have Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green and Al Horford now, you have a chance to beat anybody because these are the crafty veterans that know how to win, especially in close games, both home and away. So I'm watching them also.
This last offseason, Utah Jazz fans, we all got our hopes up that eventually Cooper Flagg might be wearing a Jazz uniform. Of course, he ends up going to Dallas instead. And now you kind of have to watch him jealously, probably, say, oh, what could have been here in Salt Lake City, shoulda, coulda, would have been in Salt Lake City. Have you been impressed with Cooper Flagg in what limited we've been able to see so far?
Yes, very much. This guy is going to be eventually a generational talent. He's only 18 years young. It's crazy, Sean. He turns 19 in this December. And so last night in Fort Worth, Texas, the Dallas Mavericks, in his first game, he showed his overall versatility as a rookie. 10 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, and no turnovers. And he goes 2 for 3 from three-point range. And just generally speaking, he belongs. So a lot of times you're a rookie, you try to do things you can't do because you're trying to showcase your skill set, and it becomes a negative. This guy's the opposite. The game comes to him. Defensively, he is absolutely right there as far as blocking shots, getting steals, active hands, early eyes on defense. He reminds you so much of, defensively, of Andre Karolinko, that he's an unbelievable defensive player. But offensively, he's poised. He can make shots and make plays. So I'm thoroughly impressed by him. And now they're contending also. They have a tremendous team. The Dallas Mavericks, their coach is terrific, and Jason Kidd. And also they'll be fighting to go deep in the playoffs too. The West is really loaded. In the East right now, it should be the Cavaliers. It should be possibly the Knicks. The Celtics, don't count them out. And the Magic and the Pistons are going to be the up-and-coming team. They're going to try to go deep in the playoff run.
Where do the Timberwolves fit in? I'm thinking of, you just mentioned the Cavs, and all of us still wonder what Donovan's going to be able to accomplish before he's done in the NBA. I think the same thing about Rudy. I've always been a big Rudy fan. What are the Timberwolves going to be this year?
Right there also. They won 49 games last year, and then let's not forget, in the playoffs, they beat the Lakers 4-1, beat the Warriors 4-1, and then they lost to the Thunder 4-1. So they should start Mike Conley, who's entering his 19th season in the NBA, Anthony Edwards, all-NBA, tremendous talent. He's maturing. Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, and then Rudy Gobert, who's entering his 13th season. And then now, as always, it's that bench, because there'll be injuries and there'll be things that are going on. So the question is, young Rob Dillingham, can he back up Mike Conley if Mike Conley has an injury, or as far as him struggling to shoot the ball? Deontay DiVincenzo, who's very good. Jalen Clark, Naz Reid, those are the guys, and then Terrence Shannon. So they're 10 deep right now. Their coaches are good, and Chris Finch. Can they go make that leap right now? They think that they can, knock out the Thunder. And last year they lost 4-1. We'll see how it plays out. But they're underrated, and they're ready to go deep in the playoffs.
Gordy, what's the list today?
The list today is the oldest active NBA players to start this season. So this season, the 10 oldest guys in the NBA, and it's so interesting, many of them still haven't game yet, which is really unbelievable based on their training habits and their mental focus. Oldest players in the NBA this season as we start right now. Number 10, Brook Lopez, age 37. Number 9, Steph Curry of the Warriors, age 37.
Wow.
Number 8, Sean, right on cue, Mike Conley, turns 38 this Saturday, October 11th. Number 7, former Jazz player, the Aussie with a swag, Sean, from the T-Wolves, Joe Ingles, 38 years old. Number 6, oldest player in the NBA, also former Jazz man, Jeff Green of the Rockets, 39 years old. Number 5, we mentioned earlier, a second ago, Al Horford of the Warriors is age 39. Number 4, oldest player in the NBA, from the Raptors, Garrett Temple, age 39. And Sean, he was undrafted. So think about it. The guy was undrafted. He back in 2009. He's 39 years old. Garrett Temple, still in the NBA. Number 3, Kyle Lowry of the 76ers, age 39. The second oldest player in the NBA. He plays for the Clippers. He still's got game. That is Chris Paul, age 40. And the number 1, the oldest player in the NBA, he's either the greatest player of all time or definitely the second greatest player of all time. That's a different debate for a different show. He turns 41 on December 30th, LeBron James, 41 years young. Last year at age 40, LeBron averaged 24.4 points per game, 8.2 assists, 7.8 rebounds, and 51.3 field goal percentage. Now, Cooper Flagg, mentioned earlier, he's the youngest guy in the NBA. It's amazing. He turns 19 this December 21st. Sean, in the NFL, who's the oldest NFL player in the NFL this year? Who do you think it is?
Got to be a kicker, right? Got to who's the? Well, Aaron Rodgers is getting up there too.
That's exactly right, Sean. Right on point. I knew you knew it. Aaron Rodgers of the Steelers turns 42 this December 2nd. So
wow.
Rodgers of the age 42, December 2nd. How about in jazz basketball in yesteryear? John Stockton played in the NBA at a high level till age 41, and Karl Malone played at a high level with the Jazz and the Lakers till age 40. So, yes, it does matter training habits. It does matter nutrition. It does matter mental focus. And also what matters is your teammates. When your teammates are, quote, for lack of a better word, good guys around you, you tend to play at a higher level because you want to be around them. You can never assimilate what it's like to be in a team sport with a bunch of good guys trying to be champions. There's nothing like it. It's great. That's LeBron James.
Pretty unbelievable what he's been able to do at this age. His own son in the NBA now, and there's probably 3 guys on every team that are young enough to be LeBron's son.
That's right. And, Sean, think about it. You and Aaron Rodgers are the exact same age.
That's right. We graduated from high school the same year. We were born in the same year. Me and Aaron Rodgers. We've had similar amounts of success in our lives, obviously, he and I.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Oh, no, you're showing yourself too short right now selling it. Oh, definitely. But Aaron Rodgers, age 42, NFL with the Steelers right now, formerly at the Packers, and then with that short stint with the Jets.
I'm getting to that age, and I mean, there's no professional athletes that are older than me anymore, basically, and that's a weird. As a sports fan, that's a weird juncture to reach in your life, where you come up and you're rooting for people who are older than you, right? And you respect these guys, you root for these guys that are, they're your big brothers, or, if you're young enough, they're your dad's age. And then you kind of age out of that, and you're like, okay, now I'm rooting for guys my own age, and I'm getting to the point where I could, when I'm watching NBA basketball, these are people I'm old enough to be their dad, just like LeBron.
Correct. And that just shows you have staying power, and so does LeBron. And that's
right.
The beauty of it. So, again, the question always is how old you are as far as physically, but more importantly, mentally. And that's the thing about you. Anybody in sports or entertainment, you've got to keep evolving, and that's what LeBron James is doing right now. And also Cooper Flagg at a young 18 years old right now, will be 19 in December. It's him as far as his career. There's nothing like sports. It keeps you young. That's why, Sean, you are terrific.
Gordy, you're the man. Always appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Peace out, Sean.
Gordy Chiesa, that conversation brought to you by Aladdin Industries. James, have you ever stood on one of those scales that gives you your biological age? Have you ever done that thing?
I haven't.
Okay. First of all, it's probably pseudoscience at best, but it's kind of like when you stand on the scale that has the little electrodes on it, and it tells you your body fat percentage.
Yeah, I've done that.
And spits out that number that you're just like, oh, nope, that's bad. I don't want that number.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever done this, literally on my honeymoon, okay? My wife and I are like, we're in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands for our honeymoon, okay? Scale in the bathroom that's like, oh, this enter your actual age, and then you stand on this thing, and it's going to tell you your biological age, how old your body is based on whatever fake electrical current it sends through you. I was 35 when I actually stood on this thing. It said I was 63. I was like, what the hell?
And then you went, yeah, this is
I was like, this
total
is crap.
scam. No
course-
way this is true.
Of course, I let my wife stand on it first, and my wife is younger than me. My wife was 28, right, when she stood on it, and the scale came back and said, like, oh, your biological age, 24. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. So, of course, she's feeling really happy. I stand on it, and it says I'm 63.
Well, and then you couldn't say, oh, this is obviously a fake because it was good for her.
Yeah, I gave her good news. So if I was like, this is garbage.
Oh, you don't think I'm actually 24?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bad deal.
You know you know what it sounds like? It sounds like at the nickel arcades, the fortune teller thing where you put your hand on the joystick or whatever,
greasy joystick,
and then it tells you your future. That's what it sounds like.
You know what? We need to get a Nickelcade sponsorship on the show. We need to do a live remote from a Nickelcade.
Absolutely. There's a couple in the valley still.
Those things, man. If you have not yet experienced the glory of a Nickelcade, if you're someone who's new to that world, show up. They are the best. Those were like when we were off track as kids in our year-round school.
Spend all day there. Yeah.
Heck yeah. You could spend all day there for like $8.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, we'll double up. We'll come back with some red and blue. Jerem Jordan's going to join us to talk about the outlook for BYU. Some injuries starting to pile up for important players. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
Middle screen. Kingston. Open sesame. Parker Kingston with his second touchdown of the game.
Parker Kingston touchdown as BYU smacked around West Virginia Friday night, courtesy of ESPN. Anish Shroff on the call. Time for a little check-in with the team down south. Jerem Jordan, BYU Sports Nation, joins us here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Jerem, how are you?
I'm doing great. Just had an unbelievable weekend with my 7-year-old Tate. Went up to Seattle to see my Mariners. Got the split. Saw the Seahawks play the Bucks. Fortunately lost at the buzzer, but unbelievable experience. It was super fun, man.
Are you in possession of any of the cool throwback merchandise of the Seahawks uniform? That Seahawks-Bucks uniform matchup was 1989 back again. It was beautiful.
It was two franchises celebrating their 50th seasons that joined the NFL in '76. I already had my, kind of royal blue Steve Largent jersey a year or two ago, so I was prepared. I was ready to go.
Well done. I like that. All right. Well, I'm glad you had a good trip to Seattle. Seattle has, I think for me, San Francisco was always my favorite American city to visit. It has fallen on harder times a little bit, so I think Seattle is all the way up there with me for me now. I love Seattle. It's a great place.
Great spot, great town for sports. I grew up in Portland before I moved to Utah, and so Northwest ties. And, yeah, just beautiful city. Stayed downtown with my 7-year-old son Tate. Had a great time just scootering around town. And, unfortunately lost 2 or 3 in the games we went to, but saw a Mariners home playoff win for the first time since '01. Had to be there for that.
That's pretty cool. All right, let's talk about more pressing things here in the state of Utah. BYU continues its march, and we thought we would probably see this for the Cougs. Not heavily tested in the early portion of the season, at least from a schedule on paper standpoint. They are still undefeated. I think that the momentum is headed the right direction, with maybe the exception of you're starting to see a little bit of injury attrition. I guess we'll go there. How costly are these bumps and bruises and bang-ups that the Cougars are experiencing now as we head into their 6th or 7th game?
The most visible of them is Jack Kelly, obviously, coming out, with what appeared to be an injured shoulder, and there's no timeline publicly given quite yet. You hope Jack is back for the Utah game. I would be surprised if we played against Arizona. I would love that, of course. He's been so impactful. He and Isaiah Glasker. Glasker came out with an ankle injury, could have come back in, but BYU was up 21 kind of mid-third, so they held him out. They were fine. Good opportunity for a couple other guys to get a chance, like Ace and Mike Kafusi and Miles Hall and company. Tione Moa is a big deal, RB2 being out. I know we've talked about him a bunch. Really good blocker, good pass catcher, good running back. Him being out's been an issue. Bear Bachmeier's had to run more. Bear's a good runner, don't get me wrong, but that's a problem. Those 3 in particular, JoJo Phillips at receiver too. I guess those 4 are kind of the only massive ones for BYU right now, and they're a little thin, frankly, at receiver and running back. Linebacker is going to be just unproven guys. Doesn't mean they can't show up and do stuff, running back and receiver as well. But, yeah, it's they should be 5-0, and they made plays to deserve to be 5-0. Strength of record 13th, FPI is 20th, ranked 18th in the AP. So all's going great. Aaron Roderick yesterday on Coordinator's Corner said he thinks these next 6 games are the toughest in BYU history consecutively of 6 in a row. They're all 4-1 or better. They could be ranked matchups in 4 or 5 of the 6 by the time BYU gets to those, depending on how BYU's doing. But, I mean, it's wild because you look at the next 6. At Arizona, who's better than without preseason. Utah's always a tough game no matter what, obviously. At Iowa State. There's a bye week, luckily. At Texas Tech. At TCU at home, at Cincinnati, who's kind of the ASU this year right now for the Big 12. So today, Spencer and I were talking about this on BYU Sports Nation, like, okay, realistically, UCF in the finale, we're like 4-3 would probably be pretty good. And BYU goes 9-3 in the regular season. They're ahead of schedule with the true freshman quarterback. I would love that. I mean, if you don't play well and you are banged up and it's 3-4, that would be disappointing given the 5-0 start. This team's talented. They've got good coaching, good depth. But certain injuries can really influence things. So it's time for BYU's depth to show itself.
When we talk about somebody like Jack Kelly, and I'm assuming that Glasgow is going to be full go because, like you said, his sitting him was a little bit more precautionary. If Jack Kelly has to miss, 2 or 3 games, we know that the production loss is a significant one, but he's a guy, he's a transfer who has become, a captain for this team. He's a transfer who's become a huge team leader for this BYU defense that now is kind of the backbone of the team. So take away his tackles for loss, take away his tackles, take away all that. What kind of a loss is it from a leadership standpoint if, even if the backups come in and play well, they're not Jack Kelly from a leadership standpoint. So how big is the loss there if he's out extended time?
Yeah, he's not a vocal rah-rah guy. He's just get on my back and I'll carry us guy. He's BYU's most explosive rusher off the edge. They spy the quarterback quite a bit with him, and once that quarterback rolls out and he gets into third gear, forget about it. Asked Caden Salter about that a couple of times. I love that he pressures Salter. Glasgow intercepts the pass that steals the Colorado win. BYU's 2 backers. I mean, those 2 together specifically. Andre Ware said on the air he thinks they're one of the best in college football, and if not the best. I mean, those 2 together have been unbelievable. They've combined for 13 TFLs, 6 sacks, 4 quarterback hurries, 2 forced fumbles. Oh, by the way, Jack Kelly picked up a blocked field goal and returned it for BYU's first touchdown of the season earlier this year. That would be a big loss on the field. A guy like Ace Kafusi had a really nice camp. He's probably the guy that steps in that spot as he did so against West Virginia. So we'll see kind of if it's by committee or one of the Kafusi boys gets a chance.
Jeremy Jordan, our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, Little Red and Blue, talking BYU Cougars, who are 5-0, top 25 team, coming off a win over West Virginia. That was very similar to how Utah played West Virginia. They get up big, and then the foot comes off the gas pedal a little bit as you're putting backups in and things like that. But a big statistical day for a freshman quarterback, Bear Bachmeier. You mentioned that, you could be ahead of schedule with a freshman quarterback. Is Bear Bachmeier individually, is he ahead of schedule based on what you have seen, not only against West Virginia, but all the way up to this point? I mean, 351 yards passing for a freshman who's supposed to be more of a dual threat, like not a pure passer type of guy. I don't care if it's against West Virginia. That's a good day.
Yeah, that was great. And first thought on West Virginia was BYU should have won that by 25 or 30 points. They turned it over 3 times. That was the issue. They gave 2 super short fields. One was at the 3, one was at the 22. West Virginia cashed in. There's 14 of their points. I mean, it probably should have been 45-10 if BYU had played a clean game, which they had been pretty clean up to that point. That offense hadn't turned it over. Suddenly they're turning it over 3 times with some fumbles and some pitches batted down and whatnot. So that was tough. Overall, though, you just in the Big 12, and this team with a true freshman quarterback just win. I'm not overly concerned about style points. I don't think BYU's at that level quite yet. I think that they can get there, but Bear Bachmeier is way ahead of schedule. Like, he's been incredible. His decision-making has been awesome. The ability to push it down the field for explosive plays. What we saw in that game Friday night was big plays in the pass game a little more. BYU only had a couple of kind of 40-plus plays, and then they go 47, 54, 85, which is the longest pass play for BYU since 96, 35, 20, 21. You had a bunch of explosive pass plays, which was great. That was a new wrinkle. That was a new thing teams have to defend. Bear Bachmeier is one of the smartest quarterbacks BYU's ever had. Dude takes like 20 credits at Stanford, gets a 4.0 as kind of spring semester, comes to BYU. Like, he applies those smarts on the field. He makes good decisions. He's athletic. He's able to make crisp, timely throws, decisive throws. It's been awesome. I'm excited about the future for this kid and the present, frankly. Everyone always looks to the future. Oh, this, that, and the future. What about right now? Right now, Bear Bachmeier is leading a 5-0 team, and the ramp-up has been good for him to prepare for increasingly tougher challenges, and he'll put more weight on the bar at Arizona Saturday.
This question is silly even as I say it because, I mean, he's like 3rd most productive receiver in the league right now. But it feels like they could still uncork more with Chase Roberts as he develops chemistry with this freshman quarterback. He had a big game against West Virginia, obviously. Hasn't seen the end zone as often as I thought he would to this point so far in the season. But is there more to get out of Chase Roberts, you think, in this offense?
I always do. Yeah, I think Chase is really good. So, like, Chase to me is kind of a 6th, 7th round guy that could be maybe undrafted, and he could play his way into that. But yeah, nearly 20 yards a catch, almost 400 yards in 5 games, 3 touchdowns. I'm with you. Like, Chase to me in any given game could be a 100-yard guy. He's that kind of threat. He had 85 on one play, as we mentioned, in the last game. His hands are incredible. His ability to get separation. We saw that against Colorado, where he ran what he told me was a star route. Kind of starts with a slant and then opens up his hips to an arrow or whip. He got 5 yards of separation. Like, he can win one-on-one battles in the Big 12, in a big moment, on a 3rd down, on a 4th down. Yeah, I always think Chase could do more. I just think his abilities are really high. To me, he's one of the top probably 5 receivers in BYU history in terms of athleticism, ability to make a play, game-winning catches. At Arkansas a couple years ago, he kind of did the jump man one-hander. He's got it all. And if BYU targeted him 12 times a game, I'd be happy. It was 5 on Friday. He got 4 catches for 161.
Again, probably equally silly, but is the same true for L.J. Martin? Because now you mentioned it, with Sione Moa, who I'm a big fan of, and I think you are too, with him experiencing a little bit of an injury problem, you got to be perhaps more of a bell cow if you're L.J. Martin. He's already 6.5 yards a carry. He's already basically at 100 yards a game. Do they lean more heavily on him?
That's a good point too. Yes, and he's got a few nicks and bruises as well, just going through the regular rigmarole of a season being running back. He had 21 carries, which is a good number. I like that. The fact that he goes for 90 was good. 21 was the season high. He'd gone 8, 18, 14, 15, and he'd go 131, 110, 101, 58 against Colorado. They kind of loaded up on him, and that opened up Bear. That's what they saw in the game. And then against West Virginia, 2 touchdowns for him, which was great. I would love for him to continue to get, 15 to 20 carries a game. And he's a good player. He's a chain mover. And Aaron Roderick kind of situationally is saying, what are they giving us? What am I setting up right now for later? And this O-line, I think, has been underrated too, with how they've performed with 2 brand-new tackles. So these are 2 of the highest-rated tackles in the Big 12, in Isaiah Jota and Andrew Gentry. And, keep it going, because the identity is the run game. But if West Virginia's going to load up on that, Bear showed he can chuck it for 351, which is awesome.
Let's talk about what happens for BYU this weekend. Arizona, as you already mentioned, is a much better team than we thought they were going to be. That's true of Houston. That's true of Cincinnati. That's true of Arizona. The Big 12 continues to surprise, and I guess that's just something we'll have to get used to with this conference as both teams stay in it. I don't know how much film study you've been able to do. I don't know how deep you've gone on your dive into Arizona, but why are the Wildcats so much more successful to this point in 2025?
I'm seeing that their defense is way better. So there's Desert Swarm is back, ? 6th in defensive success rate. They're the only FBS defense that has not allowed a passing touchdown. They're 8th in 3rd and 4th down success. They're 12th in picks. They're 25 in rush yards allowed per game, under 100. BYU's 15th, by the way, in rush yards per game. I think that matchup will be who can establish the ground game or not allow it, right? So I think the defense kind of led the way, which is interesting for Arizona. You lose Tyrone McMillan and you get better. I mean, it is a junior Noah Fafita. He has more time. It is second year with Brent Brennan running the show there. They wanted him out midway through last year, but he's shown this year, hey, give me some time. We can make it happen. So this will be an increasingly tougher challenge for BYU. But Kalani Sitake historically 4-0 against Arizona in 4 different places, by the way. Vegas, Glendale, Tucson, Provo, and he hopes to make it 5-0 and 2-0 in Tucson. So it is a better defense, the best defense BYU has played so far Saturday.
So do you think we see like kind of a low-scoring slug-it-out type situation? Is that how this game, like, does the paper translate to what we actually see on the field?
Yeah, I wonder if it's like a 24-21 kind kind of games. Obviously, BYU turning over 3 times last week kept West Virginia sort of within somewhat striking distance at times. I don't think you can do that with this Arizona defense and give them short fields. I think Fafita and company are kind of figuring it out a little more. And this will be, just the second Power 4 road start for Bear. Like he got a taste at Colorado, obviously ECU and non-conference across the country. So I'm excited to watch it. I think it's going to be an interesting game, and it's kind of a separation game of who's going where in the Big 12 and what kind of wins can you compile. And frankly, I think if BYU wins against Arizona, they've got a good chance to go at least 4-3 in the final 7. If they don't, it might be kind of a 3-4-ish thing. So it's a big swing game, I think, for BYU.
It's interesting that both BYU and Utah are kind of entering this meaty part of the schedule where the season's going to be decided here, and of course they meet one another in week 2 of that. I don't think on paper at the beginning of the season I had it projected exactly that way for BYU. I thought with Utah it was going to be the Texas Tech game, big crazy test, and then Arizona State, BYU, et cetera, where you're going to really figure out what you have. You and I have talked about this ad nauseum that, BYU could get to 6-0 and we still might not know really how good they are as a team. Now that Arizona is better than we thought they would be, if BYU is 6-0 heading into Holy War rivalry week, will we know more about them than we thought when we had this conversation 5 weeks ago?
Yes, because we will have seen at least, Arizona would be, to me, like, okay, how do they perform in that game? And if Utah rebounds against Arizona State, I think they're going to feel like, okay, it's not as bad as we thought. I think Utah fans probably, after the Texas Tech game, are feeling like the sky was falling and the offense stinks, and here we go again. No, nice response last week at West Virginia, but big game with ASU. And let's be honest, that's a little kind of trap game for both these teams, frankly, kind of thinking about next week. I think they are dialed in, and they have important big games this week. But it is next week. It's like creeping up on us. Like that BYU and Utah are going to be playing here at the end of next week, which is crazy to me. But huge games for both against teams from Arizona. And so I'm interested to watch Utah, Arizona State. I'm interested to watch BYU, Arizona, because those two teams are going to walk in. I mean, there's a chance it's 6-0 versus 5-1. Like, come on, that's epic. Let's go.
Have you taken a look at this this defensive stop rate list as we go into Week 7 from ESPN?
No, talk to me.
Okay, so defensive stop rate is what it sounds like. The basic measurement of success, the percentage of defensive drives that end in punt, turnover, or turnover on downs for the opposing offense, right? So number 1 in the country last year was the eventual national champion, Ohio State. Right now, number 1 in the country is Texas Tech. That's important, I think, to note. But BYU comes in at number 19 nationally right now in defensive stop rate. Arizona, who we've been talking about plenty for obvious reason, comes in at number 21. Utah comes in at number 24. Right now, 74%, it's 73.8, but 74% of BYU's defensive drives end in a stop, which is good enough for 19th in the country. So Jay Hill's defense continues to impress. They're on that top 25 nationally relevant scale as a defense.
It's big time. And I think the matchup of good defenses is going to be interesting. And is that Jack Kelly against Utah for BYU? That will make a big difference. How is he feeling? And that's a big difference for Arizona. I'm seeing Arizona State on this list at 48, like decent but not quite the same. Arizona State's going to try and outshoot you. And, the thing that a team like Utah could do that TCU did not when they were up 17 a week and a half ago on a Friday was run the ball and milk some clock. Like TCU's refusal to run is just mind-blowing. They blew a massive lead on the road at Arizona State where they could have really sent ASU down a spiraling spot. Instead, the Sun Devils are still in this thing. And, big game Friday. I like that number, though, defensive stop rate. I love that BYU and Utah are top 25 in that. That'll be a fun matchup.
If BYU's defense continues to dominate, James just whispered this, can we worshop this? Could it be Deseret Swarm?
Oh, Deseret industry.
I can't take credit for it. That was James. But ridicule you if you steal it from us. It's fine.
Don't you go by El Jefe or something? Is that your,
yeah. Game for both teams, not just, hey, we're trying to have a great season, we're trying to spoil your great season. Like conference championship implications. That's why we wanted these two teams in the same conference together. We got it. Hopefully that's what we get next week.
I'm still upset this game is not November 29th or whatever.
Yeah.
But we had it off and on there. I'm just glad it's every year. And so it should be a ton of fun coming up next week.
All right. We'll chat with you then. Thank you, Jerem.
Thanks. Yep.
Jerem Jordan, red and blue. Jack Kelly being absent from that BYU defense, that is significant if it stays that way.
The Deseret Swarm defense,
the Deseret Swarm defense, James.
It works.
That just came to you? It just came out of nowhere?
Well, I'm like, why are we – I get Desert Storm. I get the play on words there. But I'm like, BYU, why is BYU TV and BYU radio and whatever else, how have they not gone Deseret there?
I'll tell you
goodness.
Why. I'll tell you why. Because it's too on the nose. It's right. It's like when you hide in plain sight, you know? It's right there for the taking. Sometimes you have to be looking at it from afar to notice.
Yeah.
Deseret Swarm.
Well, it works on multiple levels because what does Deseret mean? Honeybee, swarm, boom.
Wait, is that what Deseret actually means? Deseret? I thought it was like
fairly
a term
certain.
for like hard work.
Looking it up.
877-353-0700. All of you church historians out there.
More meaning honeybee.
Deseret means honeybee. In what language?
I'm not sure.
Mormonese?
I think the claim is Hebrew, but I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. We're going to find out. We're going to do some research here. We're going to come back with a daily dump. Hopefully we have an etymological answer.
I'm getting some people on the phone. No, we actually have quite a bit of stories to talk about in the daily dump. I don't know if you noticed, I added a few lines to these things. Some big, like John Mateer returning this week for Red River shootout,
Perhaps,
things like that going on, and stuff that came through yesterday that have a local spin on it.
Well, I'll tell you where we're going to start the daily dump. Sometimes having a billionaire ex-player donor can't solve all of your problems, and Texas Tech just showed us exactly what I mean. I'll explain it for you in the Daily Dump in 3 minutes on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92 on FM. Daily Dump Time brought to you by Valley Plumbing here on the Sean O'Connell Show. I'll tell you what needs to be dumped out, flushed away. Did you see the Texas Tech Red Raiders logo rebrand that they put out mid-season in like this? I love that they've done this. Let it be a curse upon the successful season that the Red Raiders are having right now in Lubbock, Texas. Have you checked this out? I tweeted something out earlier this morning. James.
Is it just the generic-looking double T? Is that what you're talking about?
When I say Texas Tech Red Raiders football, what are their colors?
Red and black.
Yeah. Now tell me the new logo. The new primary interlocking T logo. What color is that?
It's just red.
What are you doing?
Yeah, with the white outline, at least put the black outline in there.
What are you doing, Texas Tech?
Is it worse rebrand in the past calendar year? This, Cracker Barrel, or Notre Dame?
Oh, Notre Dame is great with the non-fighting Irish. It's now the passive Irish.
The passive Irish.
It's the fleeing Irish because he's literally running away.
The peacemaking Irish.
No, seriously though, it's kind of like my complaint about when a team wears blackout uniforms when they don't have black anywhere in their color scheme. The Red Raiders have established themselves for a long time now as a team that is primarily black. Even though they're the Red Raiders, there's more black on those uniforms than there is red.
Yeah.
And guess what? They just took the black out of the logo.
Now, I'm looking at the press release on their website here. They have a bunch of alternate logos.
Yeah, they have that. Like,
one of them
is Sam looking guy.
Yeah,
that I've never seen before.
That's their Red Raider, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but that cartoony one. Have they put that anywhere?
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
They have the cool one where it's like he's like the Red Raider's like a Zorro looking character.
Right. Yeah, that's the
he's riding the black stallion.
The black stallion. There is one, interlocking T, double T, I think is what the double T is what they're calling it, over a red State of Texas, which is cool. It's black double T over red State of Texas. That's cool.
Yeah.
Maybe make one of the T's black. Like what? Why is it? I'm with you. Why take black out of your main logo? You got two T's there. Make the smaller T black.
Yeah. So Cody Campbell, all right, the $1 billion man who's supposed to solve all Texas Tech's problems. If you're involved in this at all, you've really screwed it up. This is going to jinx your team. It's going to jinx the program. You start taking, first of all, the
stock prices are going down. No, they don't.
The shadow black interlocking T's. There was nothing wrong with that logo. It was was very
really cool
much
looking,
associated with you and your success as you have built into this thing. As soon as you get a little taste of top 25, roll out a rebrand, simplify it, take the black out. All right, fine. Now you just look like Houston.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And Utah's interlocking you logo. Like, cool. You look like two other schools in your conference.
Yeah, that's silly. You've messed it up, Texas Tech.
By the way, the website on the top right, when you click on in websites now, you click on the business logo and it takes you to the homepage. That logo there on Texas Tech website is still the classic shadow black double T, which works perfectly because it's mostly red. You're the Red Raiders, but you got the shadow of black there with saying black's part of our identity too. That's another reason why just keeping that makes a lot of sense. But I do like the double T, the black double T over the red State of Texas, though. That one's cool.
That one is pretty cool. The finger guns one, don't care. The weird little Yosemite Sam looking Red Raider guy, don't care. The black stallion, the Zorro dude on the black stallion, cool,
sick,
really cool. And the interlocking T's, it's a downgrade from what you already had, so kind of dumb. But do your thing, Texas Tech.
Yeah, we wish you nothing but the worst.
You know what's the craziest thing about this, James?
Yeah,
I can guarantee you that over $1 million was spent on this.
Absolutely, just like millions of dollars was spent on the Jazz jersey change a couple of years ago that we should never speak of again.
When you're like, there's 13-year-old amateur graphic designers that can do this in 35 minutes and come up with something better.
For free.
If you just like put it out there on your social media. Hey, whoever can come up with a rebranded interlocking tee, we'll give you free season tickets for life. And instead they go to these consulting firms and they're just like, oh, what we've done actually, we've toned down the red. It's now a cerulean blue behind it, which makes it less of a violent red or whatever. And it's just like,
and people psychologically will feel better about your team because of this color change.
we've made the finger gun look a little bit more passive because we're not big fans of the aggressive nature of the old finger guns. Like some stupid firm just fleeced Texas Tech Athletics for $1 million for this. And I'm glad.
Yeah, good for them.
All right, moving on in the daily dump. Flush that thing down the toilet.
I need to get that's what we need. We need a toilet flushing sound effect for when we move on to stories here.
All right.
I'm going to work on that.
All right. We already kind of alluded to this. The Bengals are trading for Joe Flacco. So, two things there. The Bengals are just like, oh, Jake Browning behind Joe Burrow, not what we need. And the Browns presumably are just like, okay, we like Dylan Gabriel enough that we're unloading the only established veteran in our quarterback room.
Yeah, I said it when this first broke. I thought Dylan Gabriel looked really good, albeit in a loss against the Vikings in London. I'd be encouraged by that performance if I'm the Browns and I'm their fans. I'm not sure I was encouraged enough to trade your only veteran quarterback, but maybe they feel really good about what Shedeur Sanders showed them in the preseason, which was also pretty good. That they're like, we don't need Joe Flacco anymore. We're gonna trot out Dylan Gabriel as our starter, and then if something happens to him, or if there happens to be a couple weeks in a row where he struggles, we feel good about Shedeur Sanders too. But I don't know. I probably would have held on to the veteran to help mentor these guys, and at least as a backup. But I mean, they got a draft pick out of this, so
They got a 6th round pick.
Maybe they're like, hey, we didn't envision getting a draft pick out of Joe Flacco before. At least we get a future draft pick out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's more like, I don't think anything impactful in the return is the story here. I just think that it's like both of these teams appear that they have made some kind of decision about the depth of their quarterback room. And I actually think this is good if you're Shedeur Sanders, if you're in that Shedeur Sanders fan camp kind of a situation, because
so if you're Dion,
if you're Dion or Shiloh, those are the two people that
should we actually just pantomime the rest of this segment in honor of him when we talk about this?
We never talked about that on the show.
You mentioned pantomime yesterday, and I almost brought that up, but we moved on.
This happened last
things.
week, right? When he was asked about Dylan Gabriel.
I thought of you about how much you said he just does. There's so many things about his game that's like, we should like that guy, but then he does so many other things. You're like, I can't like you.
He just makes himself unlikable. He is like simultaneously should be cool and is so remarkably tone deaf. Like, there's no humility to him at all.
Perfect example of that, this pantomime thing.
If you didn't see it, he was asked about Dylan Gabriel getting the start, asked about the quarterback situation, and instead of actually answering the questions, he stood there, smiled, and mouthed like he was answering the questions without any sound coming out of his mouth.
Which one of his buddies, which one of his best friends do you think told him, oh, it'd be really funny if you did this, and then were laughing their heads off when they saw this? He did this for like 3 people, I'm sure.
I want to know. I want to know if Dion was like, called him and was just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Or if he was just like, yeah, don't give him anything, son. I desperately want to know.
Yeah.
Because Dion, love him, hate him, neutral on him, whatever, Dion had this like production as a player and charisma off the field that made it so, and he's still this way, people want to talk to him. Even if you don't like what he's going to say, you want to talk to him. Shedeur is not that way at all. He's just like, so Dion will say things, and sometimes he's combative, and sometimes, like, the best example was when he was still at Jackson State, and the radio broadcaster was interviewing him. He was the voice of Jackson State football, and they were doing the coaches show, and they came on air, and he changed the way he speaks because he's doing his radio voice, and Deion called him out for it, and it was like, whoa,
why
man.
aren't you talking the same way?
Just like, whoa, that's not cool to do. But like, even as he's doing something you don't like, you're listening to him. You want to listen to him. You want to hear what Deion has to say, even if you disagree with what he has to say. Shedeur, I actually would prefer if that's what he did every time
Just
people ask him a question. Just pretend you're talking and don't say anything because you're that annoying.
Yeah, that was wild, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I think it's a great move by the Bengals because you don't know how much longer. You don't know for sure how much longer you're going to be without Joe Burrow, and Joe Flacco is a guy that that gives you a chance to still make the playoffs, and hopefully Burrow's available before then. To take you to the heights you thought you might have it in the preseason.
John Mateer, you alluded to this. John Mateer is looking to return this Saturday. It's Red River Shootout. That would be 17 days after surgery on his throwing hand. If John Mateer, the former Washington State quarterback, who was the big free agent, he was the big offseason acquisition that any team who was quarterback needy wanted. Utah was interested. It was Arbuckle and Mateer going as a package deal, the same way that Beck and Dampier were coming to Utah eventually. Like, this was QB number one in the offseason market.
And maybe the best offensive coordinator available in the market, too.
And by whether he's the best or not, he's the guy with the most upside because he's still in his 20s.
Yeah. You know what I learned watching college football this week? Mac Leftwich, the other guy, the guy who ended up at Texas Tech from Texas State, the other guy Utah was in on and got close to bringing in as offensive coordinator, although he did not have a quarterback coming in as a package deal like John Beck or like Jason Beck and Ben Arbuckle. But Mac Leftwich is also just 30 years old. I did not realize Arbuckle and Leftwich, the two hottest names in the offensive coordinator free agents, if you will, this past offseason, basically the same age and late 20s or 30 years old. Like, that's wild.
You know what I think happened? This is my hypothesis on why there's so many of these genius young coaches right now.
Especially in the offensive side of things, yeah.
There was a time where NCAA football, the video game, didn't exist. Right?
Yeah.
These guys could not play. Like, when I was in college, everyone who thought they knew how to call plays, they were just doing it on their PlayStation or on their Xbox, and that was scratching the itch for them. That's what would have happened with these guys if that game existed in the period that they were in college.
They wouldn't be offensive coordinators?
Instead, what happened is these guys were like, I need to figure out play calling. I don't have a screen and a box in my house where I can do these college play calling exercises. So in order to scratch that itch, they had to go join a staff. And they had to actually learn the game in a real way.
22 years old.
They were just like, okay, you know what? Instead of wasting my life in front of my Xbox or in front of my PlayStation, I'm going to go become a GA, and I'm going to learn how to do this. And they have that nimble young mind and that creativity. Doesn't get wasted through a controller. You actually get to do it in the real way. You get to do it in a real game. And boom, that's my theory.
Oh.
That's my hypothesis.
Kind of like that, yeah.
And then the game came back, right? Now the game is back. So guess what?
They're going to be the last of
the Leftwiches and the Arbuckles of 2025. They're not joining a staff as a GA. Now they're sitting in their their dorm with their roommates, and they're doing it on screen again.
Poning fools on NCAA 25.
Yeah, they got the headset on, and they're making
Poning noobs. Excuse me.
They're insulting people with offensive language that their mothers would not want to hear. Exactly what's going on now.
Do you think John Mateer comes back, though? 17 days?
I think it would be stupid for Oklahoma to do this. I understand the magnitude of a rivalry game like this one, but Oklahoma is an undefeated team right now. They're a top 10 team right now.
National championship conversation.
That's their goal this year. That's what they're shooting for. And rivalry games are massively important, and they're special in college football. But Texas is not at their best at the moment.
You can probably beat them with your backup quarterback, who actually looked really good against Kent State on Saturday.
And by the way,
Kent State.
The University of Texas is like all-everything quarterback, has not proven to be an all-everything quarterback. He's had his struggles this year. So it's not this premier primetime shootout, pun intended, between these two gunslingers. Like, you have to go out there. You have to do what's best for your team on Saturday, but you also have to do what's best for your team chasing a playoff spot in a crowded SEC race and, of course, an eventual national championship. So I don't think 17 days off of surgery, unless he's been shooting HGH directly into the injury, like
allegedly
the suture scars, just like, let's just rub some HGH cream on there. I mean, that stuff's a miracle drug for people, but you're not supposed to take it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we throw out the word allegedly there. Yeah. They said 3 to 4 weeks was the initial timetable, so this would be close to the third week. So this is the earliest that they thought he could return. I'm with you. I think I would take my chances with my top 10, top 5 defense, and one of the best defensive minds in college football as a head coach, Brent Venables. And I would take my backup quarterback, who looked really good in Mateer's absence, and I would take my chances with those guys and hope that Mateer heals a little bit more and is good by next week or the week after.
All right, got to take a quick one here. Jeff Schwartz is going to join us at the top of hour number 3, but Utah Mammoth starting their season tomorrow. They're on the road for the first 3 games. The official roster has a mild surprise or two on it. We'll give you the names next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. A little Utah Mammoth update. Also, reminder: Epic Beers is going to be hosting us before the Friday, October 17th, second home game of the season for the Utah Mammoth at Epic Brewing. So swing on by, grab some Epic Beers before the Utah Mammoth game. Friday, October 17th. Looking forward to that. The latest and greatest from the Utah Mammoth. We were anticipating the roster release when Adrian Denny joined us between the pipes yesterday, and now we have it. Not a ton of surprises. There were questions about whether Daniil Boot and Dmitry Simashev were going to make the opening day roster, so to speak. Simashev on it. Boot
One of them did.
Not on it.
Got the boot, if you will. No, he's sounds like he'll spend the start of the season down in Tucson in the AHL, or maybe is that, am I assuming correctly with that? I don't know.
Yes, I think that's the plan. And so Boot will be given some developmental opportunity here. We talked about, kind of the trade-off. You get a bunch of minutes playing on AHL ice, or you get sparing minutes playing on NHL ice. How much faster does your development happen? I am one who believes that more reps are better, even if they're at a slightly lower level. And I also think that there's a massive advantage to building confidence by playing at a level where where being the big fish in the small pond can be really, really good for your confidence. Now, inevitably, you're going to have to take the step up, and you're going to have to face that sort of like hurdle. You want to be confident when you face the hurdle, right? So I think, obviously, the coaches and the staff know a lot more about where these guys are at in terms of their development with readiness on NHL ice. But I think it's a good idea to let a young guy, especially a big, massive young guy, who's going to be treated like a veteran, a big boy, as soon as he gets on NHL ice. People are going to be gunning for him because he's a physical presence.
Absolutely.
Also, Tija Ginla, not on the opening day roster. We kind of anticipated that would be the case.
WHL, if I'm not mistaken, is the level he's going to be at.
He's coming off that hip surgery still, and again, he's one of these guys where the vision for him is to eventually be a 50-goal scorer on the Mammoth roster. So go ahead and let him be a 50-goal scorer or a 40-goal scorer at the lower level and just practice all of it and get healthy. He's 19 years old.
Yeah,
he's a baby.
He'll still be a really young player with a lot of years ahead of him whenever he joins the Mammoth at the NHL level. You were talking about, play 10 minutes a night at the NHL level or way more than that at a lower level. What's better for your development? It reminded me, I saw our guy Brogan Houston from Deseret News, a tweet from him. He tweeted out a quote from a recent media availability with GM Bill Armstrong. He said exactly that. He said, for some guys, I would rather them have the opportunity to play way more than 10 minutes a night. Even though they could give us 10 minutes at the NHL level, I'd rather that guy have the opportunity to play way more than that and then hopefully join us in the middle of the season. Like
22 minutes at the AHL level is going to be hopefully better for your development than 8 or 10 on Mammoth ice. Caleb Desnoyers, all of his big talk, and he said, I want to show this team I'm ready to skate in the NHL for them in my first season after being drafted. Draft and stash. This is the more common road in the NHL for these young players. Don't hate it. Oli Mata, John Marino, Schmaltz, Keller, Gunther, Tanev, Jack McBain, Dmitry Simashev, Barrett Hayton, Ian Cole, and the rest of the crew. J.J. Peterka is the guy. 77 is the guy you're going to be watching. That was one of the big offseason acquisitions that's supposed to add to your goal-scoring average, supposed to give you a little bit more of a physical presence, supposed to be
balance out your year. Recognize the couple that were marketed quite a bit before the season, the Clayton Kellers, the Lawson Krause and stuff. This year I recognized lots of other guys because I knew that they were good in other places. So that I think that should make Mammoth fans feel really good about this upcoming season and the roster that Bill Armstrong and the front office have put together.
Spicy Tuna starts the season on the injured reserve list. Okay, so just don't worry about it.
As does Kerfoot, who was a key guy last year.
Juuso Valimaki, a couple of those guys. All right. Jeff Schwartz next on the Sean O'Connell Show.
By the way, I want to get this plug in. We do have hockey tonight on the station. I don't know if you saw this.
Right after the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show?
Yes, 8 o'clock. Not quite right after. Coach show in at 7. Then an hour later you get hockey. But 8 o'clock, Avs, Kings. The hated Avs. That's the rivalry we want to make happen, right, OC? Those Avs, that's the season opener for the Mammoth on Thursday in Colorado. Versus the LA Kings, 8 o'clock via our friends at Sports USA. So we're excited to have opening night hockey for you here on the station.
All right. Jeff Schwartz next. Crazy stuff happening in the NFL, crazy stuff happening in college football. We'll talk about all of it. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN Radio Network.
At the 3 of the Jaguars, Kansas City 2nd down and goal. Mahomes in the gun, off his left hip is Hunt. Arms outstretched, shotgun snap, quick throw. It's intercepted at the goal line. Picked off on the play, and here comes the wonderful linebacker running up the middle. It's Lloyd. He takes it on the sideline, 30-40, chasing to the 50. Down the sideline, 40, 30, 20. Foot race to the 10, 5, touchdown! Touchdown! Mahomes has been picked off by Devin Lloyd. Near the goal line, down the sideline for 6. A pick 6. And Devin Lloyd, who is from Kansas City and the reigning AFC Defensive Player of the Month, has just returned a Mahomes pass at the goal line for 6. A pick 6.
Kevin Harlan on the call. Sound courtesy of Westwood One Monday Night Football. Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars found a way to win, partially because of that. Devin Lloyd, 14-point swing, pick 6 against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Joining us to talk about all things football, NFL, college-related, my former co-host, good friend, NFL veteran, former Oregon Duck, which is something we don't hold against him, Jeff Schwartz. F.A.,
I thought you had me on to do hockey preview today. No? A Utah Mammoth
I know
preview?
you're a big Utah Mammoth fan.
I am. Yeah, I need to get myself. I'm going to order myself a hat. They didn't have my size last year. I want to be supportive of the Utah clubs.
I like that. We'll find a way to get you a Mammoth hat. The sweaters, I don't know. I don't know if they make the sweater in your size.
Well, I have 3 Oregon hockey sweaters that I wear for podcasts. So they certainly fit. So I don't know like what size I would need, but I know they do fit.
All right, we'll figure it out. So are you now discounting the Penn State victory for your Oregon Ducks because Penn State turns out they stink? They lost to UCLA.
No, I'm not doing that. It's like the dumbest thing ever. There are people that are going to wager on Indiana this weekend because Penn State lost to UCLA, I should say. Not because anything Oregon did or didn't do, but because an opponent they previously played. Instead of just really looking at it as you should, which is that Oregon broke Penn State. I mean, it was a game they had planned for years, and they just were never the same, clearly, after that game. And I think they also thought, I would imagine that UCLA stinks. This might not be a tough matchup for us, even if we're a little bit down from the previous game. And UCLA is not good, man. I mean, even after that win, the Bruins are on the road this weekend at Michigan State, who's terrible. And they're 8.5-point underdogs. Like, no one believes in them even after the win the other day. But no, I'm not downgrading Oregon at all because Penn State happened to play a really bad game against UCLA.
I asked that question somewhat tongue-in-cheek. This one I am more serious about. Is good the enemy of great to the point where Penn State has to think about moving on from James Franklin? Because him and his work, that's the reason you're in these conversations, but also you're only ever just in the conversation. You don't win these games. But you don't win the Oregon game. You usually do win the UCLA game. And now you've not only lost to Oregon, and you're not good against top 10 teams, et cetera, but now you're dropping it against arguably the worst team in your league. So do you have to start having those conversations? If you're Penn State, you want national championship expectations. Do you have to separate yourself from a coach who's kind of demonstrated he's not going to get you there?
I think it really depends on the rest of the season, but I'm leaning toward yes. And to me, it's not a firing. It's just like they just mutually decide, like, we've had our fun. We've done what we have to do. We've gone as far as we can, and they decide to move on. I don't think firing Franklin for the sets he's had makes sense. His buyout is enormous, but you mutually agree to part ways. Remember, this was the year that they had touted, right? Everyone came back for the most part. I mean, obviously Carter did not, but Drowler came back, and you went and got portal receivers, and you had a veteran offensive line, and really good defense, which they still have, by the way. The offensive line has not been as good. And you look at too, like, you let Prbula walk to Missouri, who's been great so far. I know they have a big test this weekend, obviously. and you chose Drew Aller, and Drew Aller has not been the guy. So that's also part of the equation as well. Is like you chose maybe the wrong guy, and can you live with that decision if you are in the front office or really the the ownership group or whoever fires the president, whoever fires Franklin? I'm using NFL terms. I get it. Sean, that to me is the biggest question, right? And so we'll see how they finish, but it might just be where we've run our course. Jay Tucker has done all he can do at Penn State, and maybe he goes somewhere to UCLA and rebuilds the Bruins. I mean, he's a great program builder. We did it at Vanderbilt, did it at Penn State.
Right now, the Big Ten's got 9 teams that are 4-1 or better. The Big 12's got 9 teams that are 4-1 or better. The SEC's got 9 teams that are 4-1 or better. Mathematically, it can't stay this way with these teams. So how many contenders versus pretenders are we seeing in the top 25 right now? Because all those teams that I just mentioned, they're kind of vying for those top 25 spots. I mean, we're getting into conference play, and the separation has to happen at some point. How many of these teams are going to rise, and how many of these are going to prove to be paper tigers?
Sorry, my dog is very, very energetic about this topic. So are we talking about just like can win a championship or make a playoff? Because I think
it's probably
very different discussions.
Probably make a playoff. And we're pro dog on this program, so it's okay if Foe's barking in the background.
Yeah.
But like USC right now is 4-1.
Yeah. So
Washington
okay. So
is 4-1.
Yeah. So playoff teams are interesting, Sean. So I think in the Big Ten, I really think Michigan is a playoff team. I think Michigan beats USC this weekend. And with their schedule, they're probably going to lose to Ohio State. I mean, we say that now. Obviously, it hasn't been the case the last couple of years. But I think that Michigan's in, Oregon's in, Ohio State's in, Indiana probably in, depending on the way they finish out. If Penn State can beat Indiana and Ohio State, Penn State's in, right? I mean, like I think they feel pretty good about sort of those teams. In the SEC, Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss, probably near locks to be in that conversation, right? I can't think of anyone else. ACC, Miami, Georgia Tech is interesting. Florida State, obviously, and the Big 12. Look, the Big 12 is interesting. I think that the quality of teams is vast. I don't know if they're like all playoff caliber teams, but Texas Tech obviously is the front runner. I still think Utah can be there and be in that discussion, Sean. I don't know if Utah fans feel that same way, but it's going to be. If you're a proponent of the 12-team playoff, like this is what you've been hoping for, which is like this season, right, Sean, where it feels more wide open than ever before. I think there's a bubble of 3 teams right now that win a championship. That's it, and we're going to get a bunch of chaos. I think the rest of the way. Conference play has started. Conference road games happen. Alabama goes to Missouri this weekend. If they lose, is there a discussion about Alabama being in that situation? What if Oregon loses to Indiana this weekend? There's a lot of sort of openness to who those 12 teams are going to be. It's going to make it fun down the stretch.
So in the Big 12, you have Cincinnati overperforming expectations, Houston overperforming expectations, Arizona overperforming expectations. Kansas State has looked worse than we thought. We'll find out a lot more about Utah and BYU these next couple of weeks. If one of those 3 that are like Cincinnati, Houston, or Arizona are actually going to be this year's version of Arizona State, who's the most likely in your mind?
Cincinnati's their offensive line is good, man. Quarterback is good. I don't know if their defense is good enough to make that happen, but they're certainly, I think, in that discussion for that. But Holy War, by the way, might be big noon kickoff. There's some chatter about that. That's an early game for you guys, though. It's the only problem. But there might be there might be a lot of people interested in that game, depending on how the results go this weekend. Would you welcome a 10 Mountain kickoff?
Well, it's right now the kickoff time has been given as 6 p.m., so people like that a lot better.
Oh, it's already given. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then I think you're out of that then. Okay.
I think we're out of that discussion.
6 is much better than the 10 a.m. It's wild. Cincinnati to me is that team, Sean. That was a good win for them. I think Iowa State's a good team. They've had some close wins, obviously, as Iowa State, but Cincinnati feels like that team. But I don't think the Big 12 has like an Indiana type team like sitting in the wings. I think the teams we know that are good, and the Big 12 always has, crazy amount of kind of beat each other from within, right? Which is only a thing that people care about when it comes to the conferences that not the SEC. The SEC, when they beat each other, it's like, this is great football. When everyone else does it, it's like it's a sign of weakness in your conference. But I think that Cincinnati's that team that I look at.
So Utah coming off a bye week. We had Kyle Whittingham's press conference again this week, and he gave a little bit of good news and said, hey, there's a bunch of injuries in the West Virginia game in a win, but none of those have been deemed to be season-ending injuries. You lost a safety. You were worried about Jackson Benny, who's been this like multifaceted special teams, offense, defense type player.
Yeah.
And he says these are not season-ending injuries, but then you remember, okay, it doesn't mean they're back this week. And the gamesmanship of the injury reports and things like that, it's been well documented. So how optimistic from your sort of like outside perspective should people be about good news that might not be all that good of news?
Did you see before the Texas Tech game, it was a BYU fan account, but tweeted out like Utah's injury report? It was a joke tweet, but he put everyone on the roster under questionable, and then he put Cam Rising on there as doubtful. This is why we need an injury report, Sean. I've made this argument for years, like just so we have a little bit of transparency when it comes to these. I saw a tweet today from Pete Thamel, who this is his job, but it's these tweets I can't stand about Oklahoma's quarterback John Mateer. Like, he might play this week, guys.
17 days after surgery.
Okay, but he probably isn't. And like if we had an injury report where they had to declare his practice status for today, we would probably not have to go through this exercise every week of guessing who's playing and who's not. I get it. It's not the coach's job to make sure that we, the public, know whether or not someone is playing, but it's very easy just to say like these guys are in and they don't, if they don't play, there's no repercussions for that. I think outside of Cam Rising, maybe they've been mostly, because Dampier stuff wasn't great, mostly been truthful. But yeah, I think skepticism based on the previous way coaches talked about injuries is certainly fair.
Devin Dampier is a good place to start any conversation about success or failure for this Utah football team. They've got a pretty good Arizona State team coming in to Rice-Eccles. Night game. At one point, that was very meaningful. Night games at Rice-Eccles were incredibly tough. It has not been that way so far for Big 12 opponents, but hopefully Saturday will reverse that trend. And I think a lot of that hinges on your quarterback, who has played well against a pretty bad West Virginia team. He's not as mobile. He wasn't as mobile. And they had the bye week, and the hope is that he's going to get 100% healthy. And the reason I'm picking your brain about this is when you're blocking for a guy who usually is a mobile quarterback, usually is an elusive guy, versus someone who has relied on that skill set his whole life and now has to be a pocket passer, like we saw against Texas Tech and like we saw to some extent against West Virginia. If he's been able to get right in the bye week, how much does that change things? And I guess on the flip side, if he's not and he's got to win with his arm, how much should we factor that into our expectations for Arizona State?
Well, the thing is, you don't really change the way you block and pass protection, whether based on whether or not the quarterback is mobile or not.
You do change
right?
the way that you call plays, right?
Sure, right, yeah. So the big difference is obviously the play calls and just the feeling of like, what can we do in certain situations? And we've talked about this many times. Like Dampier, we don't know how good he is as a pocket passer. We don't think it's great. And so when teams can keep him in the pocket and he can't use his legs to threaten the defense, it just makes playing defense against Utah much easier. It just does. And when the threat of his legs are back, it should change the way this offense can operate. But let's go back to the same thing I've said for years now is mobile quarterbacks and the ability to run is a great thing. It can be really, really beneficial for your team. But you have to win from, in the end, ultimately that position, from making plays from the pocket, Sean. And so it's good that he's healthy. That will certainly help with some design runs and third and short and fourth and short in some situations and get out of trouble. But, can he make sure that, again, he is getting the ball out on time, taking those deep shots. I mean, really against Texas Tech, I didn't watch the West Virginia game very much. I knew I should have bet on Utah. I knew to bet on Utah. I just didn't. That was dumb by me. I knew they'd bounce back in that game. Against Tech, like, there weren't a lot of deep shots even attempted. The one obviously had the penalty, which is kind of a bummer. But I just, that's got to be a bigger part of the offense. However you get there.
Arizona State has been really good against the run, and Utah has obviously needed to use the run in order to rack up the wins that they have. The offensive line, I think, has kind of yet to live up to the preseason billing for Utah. They've only had the one stiff test, and they didn't pass that test.
I told you, I didn't think they played that bad in that game, though.
I don't think they played that well either. I mean, this is supposed to be a team that, or a position group that can take over games, even against good competition, and they certainly didn't do that against Texas Tech. But when we're talking about this matchup against Arizona State, should we expect, like, especially now that you're bringing up, hey, they didn't play that bad against Texas Tech. Should we expect that against Arizona State, who's good but not as good as Texas Tech defensively, that the offensive line will take over in a game like this, or at least is capable of taking over in a game like this?
Well, they're plenty capable, Sean. They just have to do it, right? And that's obviously the hard part about any sport, right? Is a lot of times on paper things are good, and then you just got to do them in reality. And so, yes, I would imagine that there's a little pride there in making sure that they play better. And you're right. Even though you would say that it's tougher sledding to run the football when you can't pass the ball. It certainly is, right? Safeties are down a little bit. Linebackers are eyeing those things. You would think Utah's offensive line will be able to overcome that, right? I mean, there's certainly times in every game when you have must runs, right? And can you do that? And I think that's your point about that game, right? It's like the must run situations just weren't as good as you expected. And so, yeah, I think just pride-wise, right? You want to show in this game that wasn't what you completely are against Texas Tech.
Jeff Schwartz is our guest for a few more minutes here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking all things football, shifting gears to the NFL. Monday Night Football, we all loved it. Devin Lloyd, former Utah linebacker, 14-point swing on a pick six, one of the plays of the season so far, and obviously ended up being hugely important in that game. In the NFL, I've learned that you can't really read too much into 1 week, but
yeah,
that's an important win for Jacksonville to be able to, put that feather in their cap. Primetime, national television, everybody watching. You're against Kansas City, who, of course, is the high water mark in today's NFL. How meaningful is that win for Jacksonville?
I think it's super important, Sean, because when you have a new staff and a new coaching, new situation as they do, you want to have a sort of a signature moment early in your tenure to say that it's working for us. And the Chiefs are not the same team they've been, but they still are the Chiefs. I think the most important thing for Jacksonville is coming back from 14 points. And the reason why the Chiefs just aren't as good this year in general, I think, and is they are not winning the moments in the past they've won to win games, right? There are obviously a lot of plays in a game, and there are a lot of ways you can win and lose, but a lot of times it does come down at the end to a couple of plays, right? So the way the NFL works out. And the Chiefs for years have won those plays, and this year they're not. A 14-point lead for the Chiefs, that's been a win. Like, you weren't going to come back in that game. In Jacksonville, Sean came back, and they came back, to tie the game, and the Chiefs went ahead, and then they came back and they scored. So the way they did it too was super impressive, and the Devin Lloyd interception was awesome because Mahomes, after the play, it certainly looked this way watching it. He got fooled, right? That was he didn't think Devin was going to be there, and he thought they were going to have a wide open crosser on that, zero pressure, and he bounced out and made the play. It was a fantastic play by him, and then obviously was able to take it all the way back to the end zone. So those are plays like the Chiefs just never really made in previous years, and they're making it now.
For my 49ers, if Mac Jones continues to win, do they have a real decision to make about Brock Purdy when he's healthy?
I don't think so. Do you?
I don't think so. I don't know, though, because, all you care about is winning, but also you kind of have to care about your $50 million a year quarterback and what that means. So I mean, I love when you have a backup who can win you football games. It's harder in college now
Yeah.
to have those guys. In the NFL, I think there's a lot of teams that have those guys. Good teams have those guys. But I just don't know the dynamic when we're talking about a team like the San Francisco 49ers who've dealt with so many injuries and have had, situations where they're right there for a Super Bowl and then last year as well. So I don't know. That's why I asked you. The NFL.
I think you answered your question with the salary, right? Like, if you're going to pay Purdy $50 million a year, he has to be your starter. That's just the way things work in the NFL. Is it fair that guys get jobs based off of salary? No, but that's life in the NFL, right? You pay Purdy all this money. Mac Jones is not that much better. I don't even think that's even worth it to say. He's not better than Brock Purdy, and even if he plays well, it won't be anything close to what Brock Purdy can give you. He's taken you Super Bowl already, Sean. Like, legitimately gotten you very, very far, and it would be, in my opinion, the wrong thing to do to pull him if Mac Jones plays well again this weekend in Tampa Bay, which is certainly possible. Tampa Bay's defense has been up and down this year. Seattle scored a bunch of points on them. He can certainly play well. I just can't imagine you'd bench Brock Purdy after this.
Should we read anything into the Joe Flacco trade? Like, what does that say anything about where the Bengals and the Browns view their quarterback situations?
I put this tweet out there. I think it's a good way to phrase it. This is like replacing a chair on the deck of the Titanic. I don't. What's this gonna? What are you gonna accomplish here? If you're the Browns got a 5th round pick for him, Sean. Joe Flacco got benched in Indianapolis last season when he was benched when they benched Anthony Richardson. Okay, then he started for the Browns this year and got benched for Dylan Gabriel and Shadur Sanders. Like, they're like, and then the Browns said, you know what, we're going to trade you to a division rival. That's how much we think about you, to be their starting quarterback. It's not like he's depth. They traded him to be the starting quarterback. That's how poorly he is playing right now and has played. This trade, I know the Bengals think they can salvage their season. Long after Burrow come back, I would have gone Jameis Winston if that was really the case. But yeah, no, this is not going to do anything. Nothing's going to be different.
Are you surprised there's no undefeated teams left in the NFL through 5 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, the Bills should have won. I mean, the Eagles' schedule's been tough. I get why they might not be undefeated at this time. And, they've done it, a couple different ways. But yeah, the Bills should have won. But it's the NFL, man. It's a weird NFL year. There's not a lot of elite teams. I think we can agree on that. And then also, there's a lot of really, really bad teams, dude. There's a lot of bad football right now. It's an interesting year right now, who are you putting money on to win the Super Bowl? Right now, I think it's still Buffalo, maybe Detroit, maybe Philly. Not a lot of choices.
Is Tampa Bay one of those choices?
Very fun team. Baker's very fun. I don't think they're good enough to win a championship.
Is Denver?
I cannot imagine Bo Nix winning 3 playoff games to win a championship, or 4.
Yeah, how dare you say that about a duck?
You know me, man. I just tell how it is, man.
You're unemotional about it.
I don't think Oregon's going to call me right now and be like, how dare you besmirch Bo Nix's name on Sean O'Connell's show. No, I don't really think he's good enough to make that. I mean, let's say they don't win the division, okay? Is Bo Nix winning 3 playoff games on the road in a row to make the Super Bowl? I like Bo Nix. I don't think that's going to be true.
Is it working for Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, in the most Pittsburgh way possible. You're like, how does this keep happening? And they do that, and their schedule's super easy coming up. So it's working as so far it's not blown up yet. But I mean, the goal in Pittsburgh to me is Super Bowl or bust, and it feels like they're not close to Super Bowl right now. So I don't know what working actually means, but it's been fine. It's been better than last season, and the offense shows far more life than it did last season. So I think it's working. But the end goal is win a Super Bowl. That's just not going to happen.
What's going wrong in Baltimore as long as we're talking about the AFC North?
You ever playing a team that had a bunch of injuries?
Yes.
It's just hard after a while to have the energy to play your best when you know your margin for error is like nothing, and then you start scoring poorly in a game, and you're now 14-0. And look, you're still playing hard, you're not quitting, but there is a little bit of you mentally that's a little bit beaten, right? And I think that's where Baltimore's at right now, where everyone's hurt. They have to win games one specific way. They get down immediately 21-3, whatever it was, and they're just like, you mentally get depressed. And I'm not saying the Ravens aren't trying to win and they're not playing hard. I wouldn't accuse players of doing that, but you get to a point when it's just mentally difficult to keep playing at the same level when you can't do anything successfully. I mean, the Ravens can't play offense, can't play defense. They allowed 38 to Lions, 44 this weekend, 37 to Chiefs. I mean, 41 to Buffalo, Sean. Like it's just mentally demoralizing. And again, I don't think they've actually decided we're all quitting, but it feels like a team that just knows they can't win any games right now.
Before I let you go, how much Hennessy did you go buy today after decision 2.0?
Yeah, it's already 3:32. I didn't know that. I have to get on a call. I saw that. I chose to as a LeBron fan, I chose to ignore that and pretend it never happened.
Did you think he was going to make a real announcement?
I think this is last year. I think that would have been the announcement. I don't think he's retiring now, but I definitely think this is last year.
Well, I thought that's what he was going to say and get like the farewell tour.
Yeah, like the Jeter, where they give him like I found those a little bit odd. Where like the opposing team gives you a gift.
Yeah.
Like here, Jeter. Thanks for beating us for 15 years. Here's a gift on your way out.
Yes.
How was Dubai? I saw some of the social media clips. It looked like you had a good time.
Yeah, Dubai was cool. It's a wild place, man. The fights were a lot of decisions, but good tactical back and forth stuff. Had a crazy spinning elbow knockout that was wild.
I saw that. That's the clip I think I saw today.
I gotta figure out a way. Like I gotta be more aware that camera's always on me, so I don't look stupid when I'm doing the calls. You know what I mean?
What do you mean? You just got up and were excited. What do you mean stupid?
I know, but I put my arms up in the air like I'm feeling the
like
catching the spirit.
Like you actually won.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. It was. I don't know. I liked it.
I also got a haircut from a real professional. It only happens like once a year for me, so that was good.
What do you mean, like in Dubai?
Yeah.
Is it one of those places that does does like the whole like head massage shave thing?
No, I didn't do that. I don't.
Oh, dude, I see those on my TikTok. I can't. You're what?
I don't like strangers touching me, so I don't want that.
I want one of those like ASMR like face massages in the worst way. I'd be all in on that. The problem is I would sleep the whole time, and that would be it would be a waste of money.
Well, now we know what to get you for Christmas.
Hanukkah, but thank you. Yes,
we could still give you Christmas presents.
You certainly can.
Interfaith celebration, Jeff.
We do have a Christmas tree though.
Yeah, you guys have a Christmas tree at the Schwartz house. Come on.
We do have a Christmas tree. It's only a couple months away from being in the house, I think.
All right, dude. Thanks for joining us. Sorry for making you late for your next call.
That's not important. All right. Thank you, buddy. Bye.
All right. Jeff Schwartz, betting expert, NFL veteran, college football insider. He really does it all. Great stuff, as is always the case. Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Got big news for you. Kyle Whittingham's going to join us on the show tomorrow. Looking forward to that conversation. We'll do it right at the top of the show, I believe. Is that correct, James? Is that when we're
Yeah, right at 11. So we'll start the show. You'll tell everyone what's on tap for the show today, and then we'll introduce Whit. Excited for that. We really wanted to get him on during the bye week because I figured that'd be most convenient for him. But even better, game week, playing the defending conference champs at home in a revenge game. Absolutely.
We're also excited to announce the return of Youngblood to Utah, making a stop at UCCU Center May 13th. Tickets are on sale in October. Tickets are on sale already tomorrow. ESPN700sports.com for more info. Tune into the drive every day this week, and Spence will be giving away tickets. With Arizona State coming to town, Kyle Whittingham is this long-tenured OG, second longest-tenured coach now in college football. Kenny Dillingham is a representative of the opposite end of that spectrum. He is in his third year as a head coach at Arizona State. He is a guy who I think wants to have a career a lot like Kyle Whittingham, where he spends most of that, if not all of it, as a head coach at one school. He grew up in the Valley of the Sun. He wants to make it a destination. So far, so good, winning a Big 12 championship last year. And he has not been shy ever about his admiration for Kyle Whittingham, for this Utah football program, or for what this Utah football program has and how they've recruited. This week, of course, he was asked about the Utes. He had a lot to say.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. I mean, I definitely should have recruited him harder, to be honest. I mean, he's definitely proved me wrong. I always thought he was a really good player, but how productive he's been in college football, I mean, super impressed by him. Completion percentage out the roof, his ability to extend plays. How he runs the offense and operates it. I mean, super, definitely a miss by me, 100%. And kudos to them for having him on their team because he's a really, really good football player. And he's a tough guy to tackle. He gets the ball out fast. I mean, he just does a lot of things well, which is why he won a lot of games at Saguaro High School. So kudos to him. I'm happy for him. I mean, my brother-in-law coached him, was his quarterback coach. Jason Munz was his head coach. So even though we're playing him this week, I got a lot of respect for him, his game, how he plays, how he goes about his business, and how he continues to prove people wrong and has a chip on his shoulder. So I got nothing but respect for him, and I wish him luck the rest of the way.
Obviously talking about Devin Dampier there, who played at Saguaro High School, who's in the shadow of Arizona State, so to speak, as an in-state kid. And it's not like he didn't impress. He was undersized. This is what happens when you're a great player who's not built in the sort of like stereotypical, prototypical way for certain positions. You end up being passed over a lot of times. This is why the transfer portal in college football, the actual designed use of the transfer portal, the reason that it was put into place is for guys like Devin Dampier, is for guys like Cam Scadaboo, who you see killing it right now in the NFL. Guys who don't check every box. And they end up having to kind of fall through the cracks. Now they can climb back up. Devin Dampier, I imagine, to hear somebody who he respects, who's had a lot of success, who he probably wishes would have recruited him, to hear somebody like that say, I was wrong for missing on this kid. That's a win. Like, that's a nice little boost to your confidence. That's a nice little, like, feather in your cap. It doesn't actually mean that you're going to be a better player against Arizona State. It doesn't actually mean you're going to end up having a better season. But it's one of those things that shows what Kenny Dillingham's a little bit different than a lot of coaches in college football, because a lot of coaches will just give you kind of like the, hey, what do you this Devin Dampier kid, what do you think of him? Hey, number 4 is a good player. We got to do our best to stop him. Got a lot of respect for everything Utah does. Give you the coach speak.
Can't let him break contain.
He goes out there and he says, look, man, I was wrong for not getting this kid. That's Kenny Dillingham's a little bit different. He talks a little bit different than a lot of coaches do. I think it's why he's a good recruiter right now. I think it's why people love playing for him. I think it's why he is going to be a thorn in the side of Utah football for a long time, because I don't think he's going to leave Arizona State. I think if he continues to have success, they're going to continue to pay him well, and I think he's going to try to prove to everyone what many of us have been saying for years, that that's a place that you can be ultimately very successful in college football. Really cool, though, to hear him acknowledge that Devin Dampier, and it's silly to say, but I can't tell you how many guys in college football want to hear that from the hometown coach that didn't recruit them. How many guys that come from Southern California want to hear
USC.
Lincoln Riley say, oh, man, I should have got that guy. We should have given him a scholarship. How many guys that escape the Utah footprint and end up at wherever want to hear Kyle Whittingham or Kalani Sitake say, hey, I was wrong on missing on that guy. Now you have a chance to right those wrongs, right? Jack Kelly never should have been at Weber State, ever. He never should have been at Weber State University. Jeffrey Bassa, Panay Sewell, these guys were different because they were like the elite recruits that other schools came in and they poached. A guy like Jack Kelly fell to Weber State for lack of, and I have a lot of respect for that Weber State program, obviously, but fell through the cracks and ended up there and all of a sudden showed what he was capable of from day one at a lower level. And everyone's just like, oh, wait, we missed on that guy. Let's go get him.
Scattaboo, I think you just brought up again.
He's like the best
we talk
example.
about him all the time when we have these conversations.
Cam Scattaboo is the best example. Go watch Cam
Should not have been
Scattaboo's-
at Sacramento State.
Can I tell you how important it is for Utah football that they did not fall victim to the measurables debate with Britton Covey?
Yeah.
Like that's one of the best moves that that Utah football ever made in recruiting. And by the way, whether they will ever admit it or not, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that his last name was Covey. Not only was he a great player, but it was also like if you can get a Covey to come to Utah instead of going to BYU, that's a win. If you can get a Timpview High School star, Timpview has effectively been a developmental program for BYU specifically for like 3 decades, right? So if you can start going into that backyard and create a pipeline, like I think if his name had been Britton Jones, that whole thing might have played out a little bit differently. But go watch Cam Scattaboo's high school highlights and tell me why he wasn't at Alabama instead of Sacramento State. I'll tell you why. We all know why. He's a little bit too short, and he's got a little bit too pasty a skin. It's just the way things are. You don't check the prototype boxes. Devin Dampier, if he had been 4 inches taller, would not have gone to New Mexico. Cam Ward, if he had been 3 inches taller, would never ended up at Incarnate Word. Coaches do a good job recruiting. Recruiting services do a good job evaluating players now, but they still want the raw measurables to be the starting point whenever possible. And it's obvious why, right? You've got, on one end of the spectrum, undersized guys who perform really well, atypical stars who perform really well, but the more common representative is the 6'5", 300-pound offensive lineman who, oh, guess what? He's really damn good.
Well, and it's something else we've talked about a lot. It's the flaw in the way every coach thinks. It's like in basketball, the phrase I hated the most was you can't teach tall. Because most of the guys they said that about were guys who don't even know how to walk and chew gum at the same time.
You remember Fosenko? He's my favorite.
Yeah.
Gorella Fosenko didn't even care about basketball and got like a 4-year career in the NBA because he was 7 feet tall.
Yeah. So I mean, that was as I was going up and trying to make the school team and the club teams before high school and getting cut for, even though I felt I was much more skilled, but because these guys they're keeping guys that are 6 feet tall in 6th grade who can't even move, but can't teach tall. It's the same way in football. Can't teach these measurables. I can teach everything else. Well, How come there's a million examples of those guys who you said you can teach everything not working out? Well, maybe you can't teach it as well as you think you can.
Well, that's the funny thing, right?
Or some people.
It's correct. You can't teach tall, but then there's also some tall people who can't learn basketball.
Yeah, like either you don't teach it as well as you think you can, that's partially the case, but mainly I think there's guys who can't learn what you have to teach. I'm sorry about that. So you shouldn't always fall for the measurables trap, and I'm with you. Like, it would have been very easy to do that with Britton Covey, and it's such a win that Utah went, no, we're going after him because look at how he runs on tape. Look at the vision with which he runs and the yardage he gains as a runner and as a returner. Like,
and
that's
by
amazing.
The way, the transfer portal can erase so many mistakes now in recruiting. It's not even funny. Think of how many coaches have been bailed out by the transfer portal. Certainly you get hurt by the transfer portal too, because maybe you have a guy who would have been great who leaves. But think of how many coaches are bailed out by the transfer portal. Think of like Utah and BYU this year were completely bailed out by the transfer portal at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
If you had to ride with only Isaac Wilson or Bird Ficklin, the outlook would be drastically different.
And for BYU, you had Burgoyne,
Trayson Bourget,
excuse me, who was the guy who they initially recruited. Who he may end up being a pretty good college quarterback. We don't know, but that you're in a much better situation with Bear Bachmeier. I think that's obvious.
Yeah, it's just a wild scenario now, and again, it's a double-edged sword, as we know with the transfer portal. But it's really cool to see, and we played you the Kenny Dillingham sound. It's really cool to see a coach acknowledge that, like, hey, man, we missed on that. And Ryan Davis, who's been awesome for Utah, how many teams missed on him?
Yeah.
Right? Like, because he's a little bit too short. And because his 40 time is not like, if you take, all respect to Tobias Merriweather, right? If you take Tobias Merriweather and Ryan Davis and you have them lined up next to each other on any football field in the country, anywhere, and you just do playground style, right? Where the coaches are just like, all right, who are you picking? Not one coach is saying, give me Ryan Davis.
Yeah,
not one.
Ryan Davis is going to be the one that they have to settle. The other coach has to settle for because they didn't get the first pick.
They're just going, I'm picking that guy. I'm picking that. Like,
absolutely.
And that's just the way it's going to be.
And you know what's wild is how many Wes Welkers and Cooper Kupps and all these
Danny
other
Woodheads and
Danny Woodheads do there have to be?
Darren Sproles and all these guys.
Yeah, how many of those guys do there have to be before coaches go, you know what, this guy who actually, like, he doesn't have the measurables, but he, like, can play football. Coaches and GMs start going, we're going to take the guy who can play football over the guy who has the measurables who doesn't look like he can play as well. I mean, I don't know.
understand it's a percentage play. I really do. I know that coaches in recruiting, they have to, like, project out and things like that. One thing that is wild to me, though, is how often a coach will step over $1 to pick up a dime because they're like, well, I know that guy's a good player right now, but I think that his ceiling is not high enough for me. Like, but he's a good player. He's good. I know, but I don't want good. I want great. And that guy over there is 6'5" and 265 and runs a 4.5, so he could be great. But why isn't he great then? If he has that, why isn't he already great?
They haven't been coached by me yet.
Exactly. It's a wild deal. And thankfully, Devin, and by the way, credit to Devin Dampier because he chose to stay with the dude who recognized how good he was, recognized his talent, and cultivated that talent. He didn't have to come to Utah with Jason Beck.
Yeah, he was one of the more coveted guys in the transfer portal for sure.
He was one of 3 quarterbacks in the country that had stats in the throwing game and the run game that were like eyebrow raising. 1,000-yard rusher, 2,000-yard pass, like 2,500-yard passer. We can get both of those things in one player. Let's go. And he took his credit. He stayed with the thing that he knew was going to work for him. Anyway, gone too long once again, as I always do. It's the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll wrap things up with Spence Checketts next on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. The Drive with Spence Checketts will be coming at you live today from ARUP Blood Services in Sandy, Utah. So he's not going to join us for Crosstalk here in studio, but that's all right because it's already time to hand things over. Join us right at the top of the show tomorrow. Kyle Whittingham is going to join us at, we'll say, like 11:02. All right? So make sure you're here with us at the very beginning of the show. We'll talk all things Utah football and, of course, looking ahead to Arizona State Saturday night at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Kyle Whittingham Coach's Show is tonight right here on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. And, of course, after that, 8 o'clock, NHL season starts tonight, NHL hockey right here on ESPN 700.
Let's go, Avs, Kings. Keep an eye on your hated rival, Colorado Avalanche.
Your Rocky Mountain rival, the hated Colorado Avalanche.
So we were talking about with Bryce and Bianucci when they filled in last week, OC. They were saying, they were joking around like, who should be the Mammoth's rival? And I said OC's not here, so I got to represent him and say it's Colorado. We've already decided.
The Avalanche. And
it's
by the way,
Avs.
Sorry, Avalanche. I know an avalanche is deadly to pretty much any mascot. You know who an avalanche can't hurt? A mammoth. Okay, first of all, even if it's a powerful enough avalanche to sweep a mammoth off its feet, guess what? That snout, that nose, that trunk, it's effectively a periscope. You're not gonna suffocate in the snow.
They're breathing just
You're
fine.
breathing.
We're breathing just fine down
we're
here.
okay. We're just gonna wait till this thing melts. Sorry, avalanche. You can't do what to
What's
a
that?
mammoth.
Is that Tarzan where Tantor uses his nose as a periscope?
Correct.
I think he does in Tarzan. Oh my gosh. You just made a connection with childhood James. That's why I'm laughing at that.
Underrated, by the way. Tarzan, Disney Tarzan. It's great. Awesome soundtrack. Phil Collins.
Yes. That's one of the songs we played when we were taking the boy home from the hospital.
Beautiful.
Was "You'll Be in My Heart." The wife and I bawling our eyes out on the ride home.
Oh, it turns you into a big sap being a parent.
It does.
All right, stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts. Tune in right at the top of the Sean O'Connell Show tomorrow. We'll have Kyle Whittingham to start things off. Have a good one. Let's do it again tomorrow. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.